Hello again, hockey fans. Are you ready to brave the wild with me, your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan? Brave the Wild is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps. I thank each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today, and we also, of course, are a proud member of the Hockey Podcast Network. I can't thank Dylan and Kyle enough for having us on board that awesome network and great website. So today, here we are, the annual granddaddy of them all, State of the Wild 2025. Yes, indeed, and yet another first-round exit for the Minnesota Wild, but I guess, hope for the future, and, like we always like to do, bring the whole band back. Yeah, it's great. So, basically, the whole concept of State of the Wild, annual State of the Wild, and other state of this and state of that. First segment always tends to be the putting a bow on the season and ending the segment with the season awards, the MVP, the biggest disappointment, and the biggest surprise. So there you go again, putting a bow on the season, kind of looking things over, highlights, lowlights, this and that, and of course how things ended with another playoff loss, unfortunately. Segment number 2 is looking towards the future, free agency and draft. What will the Wild do there? Pretty interesting thought. And, of course, fan interaction for segment number 3. So that's always very enjoyable. It'll probably mostly be focused on the polls and such and what people said there, more than likely. But, yeah, I'll still talk about the current results, and the results may actually be higher at the end of segment 3 because the polls are still current at the moment. They're still around at the moment that I'm recording this. But by the time, more than likely, when I'm done with the show, the polls will be done. So that's the whole thing. Things can change. They don't always. Sometimes somebody's winning in a landslide, so what the heck. But, so the Minnesota Wild start their first season, full season, with John Hines as head coach and face off against their former head coach, Columbus Blue Jackets coach Dean Evason. Of course, after that franchise suffered a tremendous loss with the death of Johnny Gaudreau and his brother because of a very drunk motorist running them over. Unbelievable when they were riding their bikes during the summertime. So very depressing and sad with how that took place. It was like a week after, I think, that Dean Evason was hired as head coach. Pretty ridiculous that such terrible things could happen. But I think Dean Evason held his own pretty nicely in Columbus, despite such, again, terrible circumstances. The Minnesota Wild will hold their own and win with a final score of 3-2. Zach Werenski would make it a 3-2 score late. He was the last guy to score, but the Wild win that one. So that's kind of a highlight in a way. Boldy would open up the season with 3 points. Of course, he would go on to have a pretty successful regular season, to say the least, which made a lot of us feel a heck of a lot better. Boldy finished with, Boldy eclipsed 70-point mark, 73 points in 82 games, 27 of them goals, 46 assists. Up and down at times, but still, 73 points makes you feel a heck of a lot better than, being stuck kind of in maybe the upper 50s, low 60s. Marco Rossi, of course, would eclipse the 60-point mark. Kirill Kaprizov would play half of the games and have 56 points. So, could have possibly had, if you just simply do the math, if he played all 82, that projects to 112 points, which would have been a career high. Though odds are, Kirill Kaprizov actually would have been even, the numbers would have been even higher, possibly 120-ish, if he would have stayed healthy, because he was on a roll, to say the least. I mean, Kirill Kaprizov played 41 games at 25 goals. Just think about that. Marco Rossi played 82 games and had 24. A lot of us pretty happy with Marco Rossi's production, and he was the third leading goal scorer on the team with 24. Nobody had 30 goals this season, which is kind of crazy. Freddie Gaudreau had a bit of a renaissance. 82 games, 37 points. Good for him to stay healthy. The newly signed Marcus Johansson. So this is kind of like current news, basically, in a sense. So this can go on segment number 1. The newly signed Marcus Joe. Yeah, I just said it. I know. Marcus Johansson missed only 10 games. Some of it scratched and such, and minor injuries. 34 points in 72 games. And as Anthony LaPantha would say, well, you can't expect too much. I mean, you're only paying him $2 million a year. That's pretty good. That's pretty good production for a $2 million a year guy. It's not bad. Okay, we know. We got it. It's just, do we really want him hogging that roster spot anymore? I guess we do. Marcus Johansson signed for 1 year, $800,000. Yeah.
king.
Yo, I forgot one minor detail. Yeah, it's so minor. Yeah. Oh yeah, that with a no move clause.
Why?
Surely you're not serious. I am serious, and don't call me Shirley. I am serious. I don't know, but I am serious. Okay, I know you're serious, Bill. Well, I guess you like veterans. I guess it's all in who you know, isn't it? You know, isn't that one of the biggest frickin' like problems in this world right now? It's about everything. It's all in who you know. It's all in who you know. Just like at workplaces, they hire people they know rather than somebody who's maybe twice as good. You know, oh, I don't know them as much. We're not as close. Like you still know the other person, but you're not as close. Well, that's never happened in my life. No, never. Okay, enough of that dirty laundry. But hint, hint. I don't even want to get deeper into that. That could make somebody break like TV screens, windows, and laptops as well. But we'll get off of that again. Yeah. Anyhow, Marcus Johansson, 800,000 1 year. What are we going to do with that? Okay, fine. You know what? It's not this big giant commitment. It's 1 year. It's only 800,000. It's not a huge commitment of money either. Meaning you don't have to play him in the top six, but the temptation of it is still there. It does exist and persist. The temptation exists and persists. Isn't that wonderful? Don't you just love that? Doesn't it just make you feel so much better? Marcus Johansson is back no matter what. He could be 85 years old and they'll probably re-sign him for, we'll give him another 800, like whatever the league minimum is at the time. And there's a no move clause. There's a no move clause. We got to absolutely has to be in there. If I'm going to commit to this dinky little contract, you got to give me a no move clause, you son of a gun. Okay, well, thankfully, I would hope there is no minutes clause somewhere hidden in there where you have to put me in the top six or the middle six or whatever. No, thankfully we don't have to do that. At least I would hope there isn't something weird like that drawn in there secretly, some secret agreement, secret proceedings, and secret oaths. Oh, we're against that. Yes, we are. But at the end of the day, so it's possible Marcus Johansson could end up being a 13th forward or a fourth liner. See, as a fourth liner, put it this way. As a fourth liner, I would rather have Marcus Johansson 800,000 than, Quad A, Ben Jones, this guy, that guy, that we had half of the season last year and the year before. Devin Shore played 55 games. Do you realize that? So if Marcus Johansson is in that role, I'm okay. Devin Shore played 55 games last year. 5 points. 5. Yeah. Liam Ogren, he had 5 points in 24 games, so that's still not that productive. But obviously the promise is still there, and hopefully he can be put in a better role than like rotting in the third and fourth line, particularly the fourth line. Oftentimes, sometimes you got at least he's playing. Yeah, I know he's playing, but if you can get him in better opportunities, hopefully. And again, another year under his belt, Liam Ogren is ready to say, bleep this, I am smashing. I'm not going to break the glass ceiling. I'm going to smash it so hard it's going to be sand and dust. Smash it, Liam. Smash that glass ceiling and become an NHL player for real this time. Not kind of, sort of, maybe, I guess. The Wild also are throwing out a qualifying offer for Declan Chisholm. I keep saying it wrong. It's Chisholm. It is Chisholm. All this time I thought there was an R. There is no R, and I bet I was driving all of you nuts the whole season when I kept saying Chisholm. It's Chisholm. It is Chisholm, and I'm a imbecile, so I apologize for that. So yes, Declan Chisholm, which will be on one of the not so friendly polls. I'm sorry, but he was disappointing. Yeah, he'll be on the poll. Spoiler alert for that. Only 12 points, 66 games, but he will be brought back with a, what do they call that? Well, it's like a 1 year qualifying offer type of deal. So, and that's another guy. It's not going to kill you if he's your seventh defenseman. So I'm okay with that. If Marcus Johansson is your fourth line forward, winger, whatever the heck, I'm okay with that versus a Devin Shore. That's where I'm okay. But are you going to be tempted to put Marcus Johansson back up in the top six? Please don't do that. Please tell me you're not going to do that. Just please. Maybe that's why you agreed with the no move clause. Okay, we're going to give you this. You're going to play in the bottom six or bottom three, preferably. Maybe third line sometimes if you're playing super well and wow, we love what you're doing. It'll be just little occasional stuff, with cups of coffee on it, not weeks and months of it. And this guy named Liam Mogren, and or whatever the heck his name is, Mr. Mr. Danilo Yurov, who will be in the United States, possibly playing center on the third line, and so on and so forth. So there I go, jumping into the future a bit, because this is next season. We're talking about Marcus Johansson, so we're gonna go getting off track a little bit. But the current part of it is, yes, Marcus Johansson has been signed for an 800,000 1-year contract. Chisholm will be qualified and offer, so to speak. And so there you go. Don't think anybody's going to sign him with some massive offer sheet. Marco Rossi, we'll see if that takes place. But again, that's segment number 2 conversation. Unless my mind is spinning so much that I don't have no idea where the heck I'm going. And I'm just dancing around all over the place. So the Wild started off the season 1-0, but things were kind of back and forth a bit. Losing 5-4 to Seattle, October 12th. Of course, the season opener was October 12th, 2024. 2-1 loss to Winnipeg. Little did we know what a great record they would have, but the usual playoff disappointment along the way. This time to the Dallas Stars. Almost to the St. Louis Blues, but ultimately to the Dallas Stars. The Winnipeg Jets would be knocked out before the conference final. The Wild would beat a depleted, lousy St. Louis team that got better and better as the season progressed because Boston moved on from their coach, and St. Louis scooped up another gem after, again, they scooped up Berube a few years ago, and he took them to the Stanley Cup Championship. Not the Stanley Cup Final or Finals, but the Championship. Wild would then also beat Columbus and Florida. Yes, Columbus not so great. So the Wild would sweep Dean Evison to open up the season. Good for us. And then we beat Florida. Great success against them this year, and the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then all of a sudden the Wild were off to a fantastic start to the season. Absolutely awesome. And we were all dancing around. By the way, Seattle and Winnipeg were not regulation losses, so it's like, wow, the Wild have never lost in regulation. And then they'd sweep the little Florida two-step with Florida and Tampa Bay in Florida, of course. The state of Florida. The real state of hockey probably right now, actually. Yeah, Florida's the real state of hockey, by the way, because Tampa, 3 cups. And at the time I'm recording this, Florida and Edmonton knotted up 1-1. Segment 1.5, I will be talking about the Stanley Cup champion. So, yes, got to do this in pieces to make a show like this time of year. Yeah, I can't record this all in one shot. Hell to the no. First regulation loss was the Philadelphia Flyers, a 7-5 loss, giving up 7 bleeping goals to the Flyers. I don't know what that was all about. And the Flyers were more like the we can't get off the grounders, 7-5. Lousy season for the Flyers. Cool jerseys, cool logo. History that was pretty rich, but on the they have more cups than we do. The North Stars and the Wild combined. Yeah, Dallas Stars have won, but it was in Dallas. So Philadelphia still has 2 cups more than we do, even though they were 50 years ago. But yeah, they were 50 years ago. 75, just like the 7-5 loss to the Philadelphia Flyers, our first regulation loss. Pennsylvania two-step. You lose to Philadelphia and you beat Pittsburgh 5-3. In the past, you were thinking it might have been the opposite, but I don't know. The Wild would then sweep the Tampa Bay Bleeping Lightning, which is insane, 5-3. But Tampa Bay is not as good as they used to be. Beat Toronto 2-1. That felt really good. The Wild off to an amazing start. Crushed by the Kings, which happened multiple times this year, 5-1. Beat the California curse, which used to be absolutely derail Wild seasons in the past, or put us behind the 8 ball a bit, at least for a week or two. At times, going to California, the Kings. The Kings was in Xcel. That game was in Xcel Energy Center, November the 5th. After winning the first 2 November games over Tampa and Toronto, you had to San Jose and Anaheim. You win both of those 5-2. In the past, those used to both be losses, but that was a long time ago. They used to call it the California curse. Wild would have ups and downs. Losing to Chicago 2-1. What the bleep is that? Shut out Montreal. Lose to Dallas 2-1. Beat the Blues 4-2. Beat Edmonton 5-3, the defending Western/Campbell Conference champions. Yep, and now 2-time Campbell Conference champions. The Alberta two-step. The Wild would, of course, lose to Calgary because we always lose to Calgary, just like the North Stars always lost to Calgary. Always lost to Calgary, all the time. The Wild went to Calgary last night. Okay, they lost. But you didn't even ask me this. No, they lost. Oh, well, how did you know? because they always lose there. That's why. 5-5, 4-3 loss there. Lost to Winnipeg 4-1. 1-0. Boring as hell. Bleeping game. Like a drinks giving hangover nonsense. 1-0 loss. Or win over Buffalo, but at least they won. And then Black Friday, the Wild then beat the Blackhawks 3-2 and the Nashville Predators 3-2 in a couple of epic back and forth games. Well, kind of just two nice wins basically in Xcel Energy Center right after Thanksgiving and into Christmas season. Well, to have another 3-2 win on December the 3rd, a 5-1 win over Anaheim. Wild would ride a nice win streak. Another 4-1 loss to the Los Angeles Kings. The Wild would crush Anaheim all season, get crushed by the Los Angeles Kings. Then the Utah Mammoth, hockey club at the time, but they're now the Mammoth, and the logo is there, even though this is the past. The logo is already there. The Utah Mammoths, the big boys. Wild would win 5-4 in a fun game. Kind of an annoying, sloppy game, but a fun one. And then Edmonton would say, yeah, you guys beat us last time? Not this time. Take a seat, guys. 7-1. Ow. Smashed right in the chin. Then the Wild got revenge in Philadelphia with a 4-1 win on December the 14th. And then the Wild would go on a massive, a very rough week as both conference champion teams destroy the Wild. 6-1 loss to Florida on the 18th, but backtracking a couple days, our future playoff opponent, a 3-2 loss, a first-place Vegas team that looked pretty good all year for the most part, and then I changed my mind. Instead of picking Edmonton to win the Stanley Cup, once the playoffs started, I moved over to Vegas. Oops, that didn't work out, did it? Anyhow, but yeah, after that, the 15th, 3-2 loss to Vegas, 6-1 loss to Florida. Both conference teams said, bleep you. After we won in their house, they kicked our ass in Xcel Energy Center because the Wild suck at home. And I don't know why. Except against, I don't know, they screwed around versus Anaheim and scored a last-second goal. Like a kid screwing around in school all year. Oh, I passed. Yes. Got and then chanted flurry, flurry, flurry in the season finale. It was fun, but that was a pretty shitty game. Let's be fair. 2-1 loss to Utah, on the 20th. 5-1, early Christmas gift. No, 5-0 early Christmas gift loss handed to us by the Winnipeg Jets. Then a 4-3 win over the Blackhawks. Yay. Christmas season then would start, or Christmas, Eve and day and all that cute stuff would happen. And then a 3-2 win in Dallas, which was extremely exciting. I think that's only the Wild's second win there in Dallas since, 9/11. Yeah, that 9/11, that one. That's how many wins we've had in Dallas. I'm not kidding. I'm not. A 3-1 loss to Ottawa, another home loss that was frustrating, a 5-3 win over Nashville. A rare New Year's Eve victory. I think the Wild have actually won 2 of those in a row, I think. But traditionally, the Wild have disappointing, lousy games on New Year's Eve. I remember years ago, was it Minnesota and Columbus had the 2 best records in all of hockey? Columbus was freaking awesome. The Wild were freaking awesome. We were on massive. Yeah, we were both having historic, longest winning streaks in franchise history, and we were tied with the longest winning streak at the time. And then it was New Year's Eve, and Columbus beat the Wild in Xcel Energy Center. Remember that? I think it was Boudreau's second year in Minnesota, so that was disappointing. A 4-3 win over Washington, a 4-0 win over Carolina, 6-4 win over St. Louis. This is all in January, and then 6-1 devastation loss to Colorado. Yeah, that was a fun one. But you kind of knew it was coming. Wild have a nice win streak going. Here comes Colorado. Yeah, I know. Oh, by the way, Brock Nelson inked a 3-year deal worth, was it 7.5 ABV? Are you kidding me? ABV, AAV. I'm not reviewing beer right now. Average. It's not ABV, it's AAV. 7.5 for Brock Nelson. I'm telling you, that could have been bad. Anyhow, so that's see, it's maybe he's going to be okay, but you could tell he wasn't as good. And then, imagine, 2-3 years from now, I'd be like, what the hell did we do? Anyhow, Bill Guerin's never done that before, though. Not at all. I love every contract Bill Guerin's ever signed to every player on this roster. He just does a wonderful job. Yep, I'm a Billy Goat. Okay, just kidding. 3-1 win in San Jose, thank you. 3-4 loss to Las Vegas, and then a 5-3 loss to Edmonton. 6-2 demolition to Nashville. What the What the hell? I mean, it really 6-2 loss to Nashville. Then the Wild go to Colorado and win. It's just kind of been it's a weird up and down type of season. Obviously, you saw players get hurt. Kirill Kaprizov, that's when he got hurt, and you saw the ups and downs of players. So that's part of the season. You know, like a 4-0 loss to Utah. Of course, Kirill had been out for an extended period. That's again a huge story in this season. And yet all kinds of meh players in the roster. Lauko was a nice addition, but not so great. Huznadinov the whole year would be kind of meh. Ogren would be there, but not be too special, or wouldn't be put in situations to be successful. Ryan Hartman ultimately would get when he had a suspension. When he came back from it, all of a sudden he was a different player. So we really appreciate that. But at the time, boy, a lot of us were ready to dump Ryan Hartman. And I still wouldn't mind doing that, but it's just I'm not as obsessed with dumping him at the moment. I just think there's maybe more pressing issues, I guess. So that's kind of how that goes. At the end of the day, yeah. So like at the time, he'd been suspended 5 times in an NHL career, with 4 of those suspensions occurring within the 22 months. It's pretty psycho. Yep. Most recent suspension was 10 games, reduced to 8. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Pun not intended. So yeah, it was February 2025 when the thing took place. Yep, they roughing Tim Stützle, as the Wild would be definitely struggling against Ottawa this season at times. I'm losing track of where I'm at, but that's how it goes because I have too much stuff up, and I deeply apologize. So the suspension hadn't happened yet, but just kind of making sure I mention it now so I don't forget. 4-0 loss to Utah. Just, I don't know. See, the Wild would be definitely up and down after that great start to the season. They'd have a few win streaks here and there and some losing streaks. It was like, we'd lose 4 out of 5. No, 5 out of 6, excuse me, in a stretch from, like, say, the 12th of January to the 25th, and then a 3-game win streak to wrap up the month. I mean, it's like, I guess. But, I mean, Chicago, beating them, that's believable. And then going to Montreal and Toronto, okay, you win 3-1 in Toronto. That's pretty impressive. See, that pretty much never happens. And then at Montreal, a 4-0 victory. The Wild would sweep the Canadiens to wrap up January. Then the 6-0 demolition loss on February the 1st. 6-0 loss, where obviously Ryan Hartman would let out his frustration to a point of insanity. Like, what, are you mental? Like, are you insane? Like, what's wrong with you? Are you absolutely insane? So that's pretty much what took place there. Yeah, Ryan Hartman would be, he would have the hardly any minutes, and he would be kicked out in this one. The man absolutely lost his bleeping mind. What did he do? Slam Stützle's head into the ice? Absolutely wonderful. Like, great. Good job, man. Not. Embellishment, roughing, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's just, I don't know. You have the 10-minute penalty, match penalty. It was served officially with Marco Rossi because Ryan Hartman would not see the light of day after that, and then would serve an 8-game suspension. It was 10, and it was reduced to 2 because I guess he didn't hit Stützle's head on the ice hard enough. I don't know. Other than he's got a pretty face or a nice smile. I have no idea what the reason why that was reduced, other than it's too harsh. Okay. The Wild would then also be shut out again. The Boston Bruins, who were not that good. Ottawa's actually kind of decent. Boston, there's a reason why there's a reason why Marchand was on Florida. Because, it's time to start over. Time to start over a bit in Boston, clean things up a bit. Not because Marchand was a problem. He's weird, but he's not a problem. He's actually a pretty good leader. He's just weird, that's all. It's time to kind of reset things in Boston. And you lose 3-0 to them, 2-1, and then back here comes the streak again. Very streaky. This is like an annoying shooter in basketball or an annoying hitter in like a left fielder in baseball, like a Jacques Jones. Oh my God, he hit 3 home runs and he hit 4 home runs and he drove in 15 this past week. And then the next week or so, he went 1 for 20 and struck out 10 times. Like, oh my God, that's kind of what this is like. It's like, oh, we won 3 in a row. We lost 3 in a row. Oh, we won 3 and we lost 3 in a row. See, so stupid. The Wild would end the Wild would win the last 2 games before the extended break with that World Tournament deal that we ended up being really frustrated in the end. Almost had it. and we got tweeted by Trudeau telling us that you can't take our country and you can't take our game. Well, we've not done either one. I'm not sure we really were truly serious about it either, but whatever, I guess. I don't think we were thinking about taking their game, but, well, whatever. We'll get off of that ASAP. But then the Wild would win 2 whole weeks later at Detroit. Impressive, I guess, and then lose to Detroit. And start another losing streak, including a 6-1 loss at Utah. We'll call it the Mountain Two-Step now, because it's Utah and Colorado. So road trips will, you could have still done that with Arizona before, because it's sort of close. But, Utah's a little bit north and more in the mountains. Like, mountains are part of its logo with the mammoth there, and which makes it pretty cool, in my opinion. And then you lose both of those, get absolutely hammered 11-3 to wrap up the short month of February. And then go on another 2-game winning streak, and then on another 2-game losing streak. Boston, Seattle. We beat Boston 1-0 after getting shut out 3-0. We win in Seattle, yay, 4-3. Lose to Vancouver 3-1. Lose to Pittsburgh 3-1. It was literally like win streak, lose streak. Like win some, lose some, pretty much the rest of the way, which is insanely frustrating. Like Vegas and Dallas, 3-0, 3-0 Dallas, 5-1 Vegas. Those are both wins for those teams. Wild would actually beat the Kings once, which felt like a miracle. A 3-1 victory. Of course, the Wild also lost 5-1 on the 15th of March to the St. Louis Blues. Improving Blues there. Good for them, I guess. And a nice overall season for Philip Gustafsson. I think he was a huge help this year. But back to this kind of back and forth. The Wild would ultimately get swept in a 2-game little ditty home and away deal, because it's the Eastern Conference. 5-2 loss at home versus the Devils, and we're in a devil of a loss 3-2 in New Jersey right after that. The Wild would sweep the Washington Capitals, who had the best record in the league this year, but unfortunately it doesn't mean a whole lot in the playoffs, unless it's the 1989 Calgary Flames, pretty much. Or was it the Avalanche in 22? That was, I think, the most recent team they were just the best team the whole year, and they won. Doesn't happen that much, which is kind of weird. 5-4 loss at the Rangers, who's just been up and down, and of course they moved on from their coach. So there's that. Yeah, well, that's how that goes. 5-4 loss to the New York Rangers. Of course, they made a nice hire recently. We'll see about that. The Islanders, of course, a team that's definitely back to rebuilding, and they moved on with a lot of players there. But with the Wild lost to them too, 3-1. What the heck? The New York two-step there. Wild would beat Dallas again at 3-2. What appeared to be Fleury's last home game. He would give up 7 bleeping goals, but would stay in the net, and the Wild would ultimately win, because the Wild were so determined to win the game for Fleury. Kaprizov and Mr. Juliarczyk put on an absolute show. Both of them coming back the same week here, and everything just went absolutely nuts. 7 points between the two. 4 goals by Juliarczyk, which is second all-time in franchise history, compared to Marian Gabour's 5-goal game versus the Rangers all those years ago. And then a 2-goal, 1-assist, 3-point game by Kirill the Thrill Kaprizov. Boldy would have 4 assists. Zuccarello would have 3 assists. Pretty wild game. Pun semi-intended. 7 goals given up by Marc-Andre Fleury. Surely he can do better than that. But we're desperate, man. We're trying to make the playoffs now because we've been so damn up and down all year. We got to overuse Gustafsson. Wild would lose 4-2 to Calgary. Mr. Fleury would have to come in this one in relief as well, because Gustafsson was struggling, and I believe he got sick as well. Fleury would face 3 shots and stop all of those. Thank you very much. But another loss to Calgary, like for the 9,000th time. A win over Vancouver to keep the Wild's hopes alive, thank God. And yeah, Philip Gustafsson he'd faced 14 shots. The defense was absolutely smothering in that one. Again, keeping the Wild's playoff chances in good spot, in good position. Losing to Calgary, you kind of figured the Wild would do that. They'd find a way to do that, because Calgary was the other team trying to make the postseason. And then the first game for me to attend in person in forever, Minnesota versus the Anaheim Ducks. A 3-2 victory, a back-and-forth game. Well, mostly, I would say Anaheim outplayed the Wild in this one. But, man, it was a very fun finish. Juliarczyk would have the goal very late. Mr. Fleury would come in the overtime period, but we'll get back to that in a minute. Julex would tie the game up. Like I said, it would go to OT. Marc-Andre Fleury was put in there, and the crowd went absolutely nuts. Absolutely berserk. Fleury would stop all 5 of the shots that came his way, and at least 2 or 3 of them were pretty epic, actually. Pretty epic saves. Marcus Johansson would be the only goal scorer earlier before Julex would finally score. Johansson scored fairly early in the game, and it was nice to see. A lot of us were hoping maybe that's his last regular season goal in Minnesota. Well, we'll see. Maybe it won't be. Or, I mean, maybe it will be. Who knows? Who knows if he's even... But no, he's going to score for the Wild, I'm sure, this year, at least a couple of times this upcoming season. Yeah, I know. And then Boldy ultimately would get the game winner. He would have a 2-point game. 73 points for Matt Boldy to wrap up the season. So, pretty nice at the end of the day. The Wild would have a playoff series where it felt like they had a chance to win, but ultimately they just simply didn't. They ultimately did lose the series. Now that I've said ultimately 5,000 times, they would lose the series in 6 games. It would get to May, but it would be a 6-game loss at the end of the day. The first game was kind of just not so great. The Wild were in it, but it wasn't so great. The Wild would kick some booty, a 5-2 win in Game 2, another 5-2 win in Game 3, and it felt like the Wild were going to win Game 4, even though Vegas was definitely vastly improved compared to games 2 and 3. Vastly improved. And it felt so good to be a Minnesota sports fan for a couple minutes there, as both the Wolves had a 2-1 lead over the Lakers and the Wild, a 2-1 lead over Vegas. Like, oh my God, are we going to win both of these series? Wouldn't that be cool? Like, we've never had this happen before where both teams might advance out of the first round of the playoffs. And then Vegas, just hung in there and hung in there. The Wild would have their opportunities, and ultimately it would all be devastating and heartbreaking. Wild would end up losing the game. And then there was a Nyquist game in Game 5. The Wild were going to win that one on the road to take a 3-2 lead, possibly, and then back home and win it. But Mr. What's-His-Name, Gustav Nyquist, would be offsides, like we talked about a few episodes ago, much to my insane frustration and anger and disappointment. Absolutely devastating to see that goal disallowed. It was a goal scored by Ryan Hartman that would have put the Wild ahead, and the Wild would ultimately probably win the game because of the amount of time remaining and the momentum being on the Wild side. But eventually, Vegas would win the game, unfortunately. And that was after Matt Boldy had made it a tie game. It looked like Boldy had won the game. But then Brett Howden would score 4 minutes into OT. The Golden Knights would take a 3-2 lead back to Xcel Energy Center, and another close but frustrating loss in Game 6 in the Xcel Energy Center, 3-2 there as well. And that was it. That was all she wrote. Another first-round loss. And Vegas, of course, would get pounded by the by the Edmonton Oilers in the second round. Yes, sir. That's what happened. So at the end of the day, looking at some of the numbers and very briefly here, Kaprizov, like I said, 56 points in 41 games. Zuccarello, 54 points in 69 games. Faber definitely had a down year statistically, but still looked like the best defenseman on the team, but only 29 points versus 47 the year before. You thought, he's going to have a 50-point season, but that ultimately didn't happen. He did wind up with 10 goals, and what I saw in person against Anaheim was pretty amazing, I thought. It looked like a guy who was the most serious guy out there, to say the least. He was by far the most serious player on the ice. So, very impressed with Brock Faber and his future with this franchise for many years to come, and I do think he is the future captain. I think the C will remain on a defenseman. It'll go from Spurgeon to Brock Faber when the time comes. I don't think there's any doubt. Faber might even wear an A at some point before the captaincy is officially removed from Jared Spurgeon. Again, a nice renaissance of a season for Jared Spurgeon. He did miss some games. He missed 14. That's a heck of a lot less than what he had missed before. Or is that 16? What's wrong with me here? Yeah, that's 16 games. Sorry, I'm doing the math wrong. He did miss 16. It's not great. But still, 32 points in 66 games. He was a +8. I mean, nice. Very solid. Spurgeon, he also blocked 119 shots, which was second on the entire team. Second, only to Jake Middleton, who would also miss an extended period of time with a broken, I believe it was his broken hand, if I remember correctly. He was hit with a puck, unfortunately. Missed 157 games, or a broken finger, basically, which is on your hand. So he would lead the team in blocks. Spurgeon would be second on the team. Again, both of them missing significant amount of time with little injuries. But Middleton's was more significant with a broken bone, unfortunately. 15 games missed by Middleton, 16 by Spurgeon. But those guys led the team in blocks. Pretty cool. Pretty cool, to say the least. Again, the other crazy, weird thing, the Devon Shore numbers, 55 games, 5 points. Yakov Trenin, massive disappointment. You know what list he's on. 76 games, 15 lousy points. Bogosian, about what you expect, 81 games, 16 points. Brodin, missed way too many games, and I think that's a frustration and why he might be in trade conversation during the off-season. Very disappointing. I mean, 32 games. Jeez, Jonas. It's too much, and it's every bleeping year, feels like. Julius Sinek was snake-bit with injuries. 46 games, 29 points, and that's with a 4-goal game late. And, of course, that huge game tire very late against the Anaheim Clucks. Just kidding. Vinny Hinostroza was a decent pickup. Not great numbers, but it was a factor for a little bit there. 25 games, 5 goals, 3 assists, 8 total points. Nyquist was horrendous. That was a trade deadline acquisition. He gave up a second-round pick to get Gustav Nyquist, who only a year ago had 75 points. This year in 22 games with Minnesota anyway. 7 lousy points. But, boy, we had to keep throwing him out there because, we gave up the second-round pick. Had to keep throwing him out there, The other guy we acquired had 2 lousy bleeping points, 1 goal, 1 assist. A guy by the name of Justin Brazeau. What do you here, Justin? 19 bleeping games, 2 bleeping points. I mean, no comment. Seriously, no comment. You might as well have had Travis Dermott out there. I don't know. Man. David Juracek looks like a possible future Dumba with his skating and skating ability and his powerful shot, but it's yet to be seen at the National Hockey League level. And, of course, even at the AHL level, he wasn't all that great. But we shall see. John Merrill, I do believe he is done at the end of the day. But this should be saved for segment number 2. Let's look to pass out some awards here. So, again, I will not be reading the comments yet. We're going to save that for fan interaction. That way it's all kind of together and it's more fun. What just happened? Apologize. So, yep, I'll save the comments for the fan interaction segment. I hope this doesn't annoy anybody. And plus, I'll let it build up because there might be more comments. That's the whole point, right? So, who is your Minnesota Wild 2024-25 MVP? The candidates are Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Boldy, Brock Faber, and Philip Gustafsson. With 2 days left at the time of this, show that I'm recording. Good number, 50 votes at the time. That's pretty solid. Kirill Kaprizov is in the lead at 40%. Matt Boldy, Philip Gustafsson, 28%. That's second. Matt Boldy, 24%. That's third. And Brock Faber in last place at 8%. Didn't have a great season, in my opinion, but good to a point. As for the biggest disappointment, this one is it's very interesting. 75 votes, and I like it. And there's a lot more conversation there, and I'm looking forward to reading those. Jesper Wallstedt in the lead, 38. Well, let's read about the candidates first. Jesper Wallstedt, Gustav Nyquist, Yakov Trenin, and Declan Chisholm. Jesper Wallstedt with a narrow lead, 38.7%. Gustav Nyquist, 37.3%. Yakov Trenin coming in third at 20%. And Declan Chisholm with 4%. Also, another thing, Derek getting this out there, that Brett McLean moves on to Vancouver to be an assistant coach. So the Iowa Wild will be getting a new boss. New head coach there. And probably a good thing because a lot of the numbers were freaking scary. Like, didn't they have the worst power play and the worst penalty kill in all of the AHL last year? Them being the Iowa Wild. Like, I didn't even know how that's freaking possible. How can you be that bad? Overall, what was McLean? About 20 games under 500 in his 2 seasons. So maybe the writing was on the wall. Like, he wasn't necessarily going to get fired, but maybe after next year. And clearly, Iowa, it is a disaster. The Iowa Wild are a disaster. There needs to be something. There needs to be some life put in that minor league affiliate because nothing good's happening right now in Iowa. It's all just a big bleep fest. It's horrendous. Players are coming here like, I don't know, they look like they look like they don't belong in Iowa because they're too young or they're too this or they're too that. And they come to the NHL and nothing's happening. So I just think Iowa is not setting the future prospects up correctly. It's not cool. So hopefully the Wild can figure something out. Brett McLean, by all accounts, is well liked by the players and all that, but at the same time, it didn't work. That's all. It just didn't. And Tim Army was Mr. We got to have a meeting every 10 seconds, apparently. Apparently he's the king of gab. Like, he'd make a nice podcast host. But he probably not the best AHL coach, even though he was well liked as well. Okay, continuing with the final deal. The biggest surprise for the season? Philip Gustafson. Marco Rossi and his 60 points. I made sure to enter that in there. Jared Spurgeon being healthy and all that, coming in third, and then other. So it all went in that order. Philip Gustafson, there's still several days left, so there might be more votes coming here. Philip Gustafson with a commanding lead of 46.7, very strong, bounce back from the year before. Marco Rossi coming in second at the moment, 26.7. Jared Spurgeon coming in at 23.3, and other coming in at 3.3. And we will read those comments later on in fan interaction. So my official picks for the season, the MVP of the team, it's not as easy as it could be, but Kirill was absolutely phenomenal, and I know maybe he probably doesn't deserve it because he missed so much time. Okay, no, I'm gonna agree with. Okay, I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag a little bit. Well, let's just say Derek picked Philip Gustafson. I agree with him. Yes, so I will go with Philip. Yes, he did carry the team more than anybody else. Biggest disappointment, Jesper Wallstedt. Yes, I agree with that. Jesper Wallstedt completely. A lot of us are kind of scared. I don't know if he's even the goalie of the future anymore. And that's kind of sad. Because there was a time it's like, oh, God, yes, he absolutely is. Now it's like, I have no freaking idea. So, not sure what to say there. Philip Gustafson is the biggest surprise. Man, with the disappointment as the year progressed with Marco Rossi, I kind of still want to pick him anyway, or even Spurgeon being healthy. Because I don't know if I want to give Gustafson both of these, even though a lot of people do, and I completely understand why you would. Man, is there a tornado outside or what? It's kind of scary. Philip Gustafson, 46.7. Marco Rossi, 60 points. Gustafson was a great surprise, but then again, we'd seen it before. We had not seen Rossi get to 60 points, so I will go with Marco Rossi. We had seen Gustafson do well. We had. Or I'm going to go against the grain a little bit and pick the second place guy once again. Marco Rossi's 60 points, to me, is the biggest surprise. It's not the sexiest thing, and none of the prospects got to come up and do anything great, which I would have much rather be talking about. But it seems like yesterday Rossi was a prospect. At age of 23 right now, so that's my take on that. With that said, we're going to take a quick break and come back and look at the future with your Minnesota Wild and talk about a lot of these guys and what to expect in the coming season and who might be added on board. And we are back here on Brave the Wild, segment 1.5. Going to look at the Stanley Cup Final or Finals or Finals, whatever you want to say. Well, congratulations to the Florida Panthers. They did it again. The Edmonton Oilers looked ever so promising early. Couldn't get the job done in Game 2. Things snowballed so dramatically in Game 3. Came back, got it done in Game 4. Looked like they were dead and gone. Game 5 just went completely south, and Game 6 just was, I don't know. It was kind of like Vegas smashing the Florida Panthers a few years ago, now 2 years ago. Otherwise, the Panthers might have three-peated. But, definitely credit given by by Matthew Tkachuk helping with his trainers and all them, helping him get healthy. With that Four Nations tournament, obviously a very nasty injury. What was it, like the muscle coming off the bone, basically, when it comes to the adductor? Pretty wild, pretty crazy. I don't even know how that can happen. I don't know how that could heal fast enough that he could play in the Stanley Cup Final. But him being Matthew Tkachuk, hell of a job at the end of the day. Got it done. Overall thoughts on the series, it really felt like Edmonton was going to get it. Obviously, again, that game one overtime victory was a back and forth dramatic thing. Felt like it was going to be a 7-game series for sure. Edmonton up 1-0. Florida goes up 3-1. It's like, oh boy, what the heck. Sam Bennett, absolutely spectacular in the series. Former Calgary Flame. I can imagine Calgary fans just kicking themselves. It's just Calgary players all over this Florida team in winning multiple Stanley Cups. Calgary Flames basically are, missing the playoffs or losing in the first round, and that's kind of been their tradition forever. Other than a couple of years, 1986, they got to the final, lost to Montreal. 1989, best team in the league, won it all. Awesome. Love that. Beat Montreal. 2004, finally, they got back to the Cup final, ended up losing in a bitter defeat to the Tampa Bay Lightning. And, well, ever since then, they've won, I think, maybe 2 playoff series. And that's about it. Getting to the second round like twice. Kind of sounds like the Minnesota Wild in a lot of ways, doesn't it? Ever since our playoff run way back in the day now, in 2003. But, only a year later, Calgary got to the Cup final, only to lose in a very dramatic series right before the lockout, where the NHL had an unprecedented lockout that lasted the entire season one of those years. They had to actually cancel the season, where the NBA, as awful and bleak as things looked, they ended up coming out of their lockout in their most recent one after, after the Dallas Mavericks beat the Miami Heat to win the 2011 NBA title. The lockout kind of started and all that, and things were very bleak. I'm going way down too many rabbit holes here. I don't know what's wrong with me. Brad Marchand, what an amazing addition by the Florida Panthers. I kept thinking, why do I have a feeling that's going to be a huge thing here? Because obviously he's a big name. He's hungry. I mean, he won a Stanley Cup way back in 2011. Kind of like, in a lot of ways, a guy named Corey Perry won a Stanley Cup way back in 2007. A team that throttled the Wild in the first round that year. The Wild looked promising. We have a chance at something, and the Ducks just kicked our butts into Kingdom Come. It's like, oh yeah, this Wild team has more, opportunity to advance in the playoffs and go far. Yeah, right. Anaheim smoked us and went on the way to win the Stanley Cup over a Ottawa team that I would have liked to have won that cup, but they just weren't ready for that final. Anaheim was just the better team, plain and simple. Corey Perry won the Stanley Cup very early in his career and hasn't won since. But he's been to Stanley Cup Finals. He's been to the Stanley Cup Final 5 times since then and lost them all in recent years. With the Stars, lost to Tampa Bay. With Montreal, lost to Tampa Bay. Went to Tampa Bay. If you can't beat them, join them, right? Lost to Colorado. Last year with the Edmonton Oilers, got another chance. 4th chance now to win a cup since winning it way back in 2007. Lost in a 7-game heartbreaker after going down 3-0, coming roaring back, looking like, my God, Edmonton's going to pull off like a Toronto Maple Leafs in the 1940s over Detroit, if I remember correctly. I think Detroit blew a 3-0 lead one of those years and then ended up winning. Or was it back and forth? But Detroit had a couple of heartbreaking losses, but then some wins as well. But this is, the 1940s. It's the greatest generation playing hockey. Back when they were, young enough to do so and such. God rest most of their souls, unfortunately. Pretty much all of that generation is gone, except for a few. God bless them. What's up with these rabbit holes? Florida, a place where you think a lot of people go for retirement. They go for this, like old New Yorkers go to Florida. They go to Florida. That's why, I live in Florida. You don't sound like you're from Florida, though, do you? Oh, yeah, I'm from New York. Well, okay. Well, that's the thing. Florida. Yep, Florida. We'll hear about that in fan interaction as well. I basically, hashtag BDWMN. What's the real state of hockey? Let's see. Minnesota. Oh, yeah, yay. We have high school. Yay. The Frost have won 2 championships already. That's good. We're happy that women's hockey can win and women's basketball, the Lynx, can win championships. But how about the stinking man? Can't you guys win something, please? Okay, Gopher Hockey won 5 national championships, but the last one was 20 years ago. More than 20 years ago. Damn it. Come on, guys. Okay, Duluth won 3 titles, right? 2011, I believe, and then back-to-back years ago. Then they went to 3 consecutive championship games. Lost the first one, a pretty close game, and then went back-to-back and blah, blah, blah. But, state of hockey, I guess we are. At the non-NHL level, yeah. At the NHL level, Florida's the state of hockey right now. I mean, Tampa Bay's got 3 Stanley Cups, 2004, of course. Recently, again, with Cooper here. Do you think John Tortorella won a Stanley Cup as a head coach? Yeah, he did. All while probably cursing out reporters along the way during post-game conversations. So you know, all that stuff. Paul Maurice has been known to have a little bit of a potty mouth at times as well, especially during Game 6 last year, when it looked like Florida was about to give up one of the most epic collapses in all the history of hockey. In fact, it would have been only the second time, like I already brought up. But this year, it's just kind of, you could just kind of feel it, couldn't you? Couldn't you? When Brad Marchand scored that overtime goal in Game 2, it was like, you know, you're thinking, okay, it's just one game, it'll be fine. Okay, they're tied with it. But wait a minute, something feels different about that, though. There was just a different vibe. And the fact that Brad Marchand was the guy doing it, getting that breakaway goal and scoring for the Florida Panthers, his current team and all that. And I'm going to have more to say here in a second unless my train of thought gets lost. It's not that important, but I have something to say about Brad Marchand and, of course, Paul Maurice. But it just had a different vibe. Like, guys, we're going to do this. You know, it may have felt like Edmonton's going to win this thing, especially when Corey Perry tied it up and forced it into OT. Of all people, Corey Perry, like I'd say, all right, there you go, Corey. Like him or not, that was pretty cool and kind of exciting, and a guy that's, you know, probably due for at least one more Stanley Cup. You know, and it just wasn't meant to be down the stretch. When Brad Marchand had that breakaway goal in OT, it was a double OT, and he's jumping up and down in Edmonton. You know, you think at first it's okay, it's going to be fine. The Oilers will be fine. You know, they'll still probably win this thing in 6 or 7, hopefully, you know, or probably 7. This thing's going to go really far. It's not like the Oilers are going to win it in 5 or anything. It's going to be a long one. And then, again, the embarrassing moments in Game 3 on June the 9th, 6-1 loss by the Edmonton Oilers. Obviously just kind of losing their minds out there, penalty after penalty, and just snapping, and Florida just kicking their butts time and time again. Sam Bennett, Jiminy Christmas, Sam Bennett. Goal after goal after goal. Yeah, Corey Perry is the only guy scoring. You know, God bless him and bless his heart and all that. Other than that, though, I mean, it's just a nightmare. Brad Marchand, Sam Reinhart, and Sam Bennett. Okay, one of them was from the Buffalo Sabres. That'd be Reinhart. Bennett coming from the Flames. I mean, if you want to revisit that frickin' trade, I mean, you know, Huberdeau looked like a hell of a player. I remember he scorched us a couple times in some of those Florida games when the Panthers used to whoop our butts. Now it's like we usually beat them, just like Tampa. Like Tampa's winning Stanley Cups. Whoa, but the Wild won 2-1 or whatever, or 4-1 or 4-0. Too bad it doesn't mean diddly squat because it's in October or January or something. That's the sad part. Yeah, we beat the Florida teams when they're good, and then when they're not good, they kick our ass. It's like, why did this crappy Florida team that never even makes the playoffs beat us 5-1? What's going on? Why? And then we beat the Tampa Bay Lightning, who, you know, was winning the Stanley Cup at the time. That's kind of what was happening. But then this trade happens, and Florida's just like, it's like transformation time. Of course, Andrew Brunette had that season with the best record in the league, taking over for Joel Quenneville when all that investigation took place. Brunette had the best team, President's Trophy, and they couldn't even get out of the second bleeping round. But they got out of the first round for the first time since, what was it, that 96 Stanley Cup final run that ended, you know, sadly. They got swept in the Cup Finals to the Colorado Avalanche. It wasn't even a series. They were yelling rats, you know. And they had knocked out the Pittsburgh Penguins, who were on the verge of what they were hoping a third Stanley Cup at the time in the Lemieux era. But Florida denied that and went on their early Florida-like championship type of run, which Florida teams often do, like the Miami Heat, the Orlando Magic, the Florida Marlins. That was one that, you know, was it like just a few years later they went on and won the World Series in '97. And it's like, that's Florida teams, though. Man, it sure is. It sure is. I mean, what is it? Just 2 teams there in Florida that have never won it? No, 3. Or is it 2? 3. Tampa Bay Lightning, Orlando Magic, and Jacksonville Jaguars. But every one of them has been to the championship round. You realize that? It's pretty epic stuff. Tampa Bay Lightning have been to 2 World Series, I believe. Yes, lost to Philadelphia and then lost to the hated, I can't remember who it was. Who did they lose to in that World Series? I remember being pissed off about it, too. Oh, the frickin' Dodgers, right? God, blankety. I hate the Dodgers so much. Oh, God. And of course, the Buccaneers went to the Super Bowl 2 times and won them both. Once upon a time, a joke of a franchise, but hey, they won the Super Bowls they went to, unlike the Minnesota Vikings. Miami Dolphins won 2 Super Bowls back in the 1970s. But it's so long ago, it might as well be the 1870s because Miami Dolphins have won like 1 playoff game since then, pretty much. Dead bleeping serious. Magic went to 2 NBA Finals. Got beat, but they went. They made it. Yeah. Jaguars went to 3 AFC title games. Lost all of them. Sounds familiar around these parts. So, yeah, I mean, Florida's definitely a hell of a sports state, to say the least. They've all been there. The Wild have been to 0 Stanley Cup Finals. The Wolves have been to 0 NBA Finals. Vikings went to 4 Super Bowls in the 1970s. And what's the other team? The Twins won 2 World Series in the 1990s. I mean, that's how long ago we're talking. So, yeah. And you know what's the worst part about all this? Okay, the Twins have 2 World Series, so at least we're ahead in the baseball department when it comes to Florida. But wait, the sappy, crappy, hapless, who the hell are they? Florida Marlins, Miami Marlins, whatever, have 2 World Series championships. Yeah, so baseball, we're tied with Florida. We're tied. Wow, isn't that great? Just imagine if Tampa won one of those World Series. Football, let's see, what do they have? 4 Super Bowls, we have 0. Basketball, they have 3 championships, we have 0. Hockey, they have 5 Stanley Cups. We have 0. With 2 franchises. North Stars, 27 years in the Wild. What, 25 years now? 24 because of that lockout year. Yeah, anyhow, I've gone all over the place. But that's why I talked about that. And, of course, I'll mention it again in the fan interaction segment. But, oh, my God, Jiminy Christmas, man. Sorry if I'm going on and on here, but I don't know. I'm sure Minnesota fans are a little frustrated, aren't we? Like watching Florida teams win 5 championships. And you know what? I like the Panthers. And I like the Tampa Bay Lightning. Like, I like these teams. I like the makeup of the teams. I like the job they've done. I mean, Florida is all class, as far as I'm concerned. And Paul Maurice, that's what I wanted to get to right here, right now. I'm going to mention this again, and I mentioned it last year. Who's the last head coach of the Hartford Whalers? You know the Hartford Whalers that stopped existing? You know, they moved to North Carolina in 1997. 97? Yeah. Who's the last head coach of the Hartford Whalers? Paul Maurice. Well, he must be like 78 years old or something, or 60, or like, at least like pushing 70 or something. No, he's 58. That's how freaking young he was when he started coaching the Hartford Whalers. He was 28? Yeah? No, 29. He was 29, a very young 29, when he took over mid-season, if I remember correctly. Yes, for the Hartford Whalers, like early mid-season, because Hartford was off to a shitty start. That's Hartford for you. He was an assistant coach in 95, 96 at 28 years of age. Took over as a head coach just 12 games into the season. Can you believe that? 95, 96. I was in my sophomore year sophomore year in high school. Paul Maurice was the head coach of the Hartford Whalers. Again, he must be 70 plus. No, he's 58. He was 28 years old at the time. It just blows your bleeping mind, doesn't it? It just blows your mind. Blows your mind. Didn't advance in the playoffs as the Hartford Whalers. Got to the Cup Finals in 01-02, only to lose, unfortunately, to the bleeping Detroit Red Wings. I was not happy. Definitely wanted Carolina to win that series. Eventually left, coached in the AHL for a year for the Toronto Marlies, then became the head coach, and Toronto is, they never win anything. They didn't even get to the playoffs. He went back to Carolina, which is crazy. Took over midseason there, got to the conference finals, lost in 09 to the stupid Detroit, no, that must have been the Pittsburgh Penguins. Lost in round 3 there, unfortunately. And then missed the playoffs a few years, and then ultimately was let go after a crappy start in 11-12. Went up with the Winnipeg Jets, had some pretty strong seasons there, but never got to the Stanley Cup final. Did get to the conference final, only to get beat by the Vegas Golden Knights in only 5 games back in 17-18. So on and so forth. So a nice, solid coaching record. But would he have been a Hall of Fame coach? I don't think so. Now he is. Oh God, yes. Ever since getting to Florida, Hall of Famer, first ballot, as far as I'm concerned. Paul Maurice is a Hall of Fame coach, and it's crazy to think. Just 3 years ago, it would have been like, I don't think so. Like, good coach, nice career, but I mean, what was it, 20 some years and no cups. Didn't even got to the finals once. That's pretty cool. He did take the OHL's Detroit Junior Red Wings to the championship. They lost in the finals in '93-'94. My God, he was like 26 years old as a head coach of the junior team there. OHL Detroit Junior Red Wings. Crazy. Isn't that wild? Man. He was an assistant coach in '88-'89 in the OHL. How he's 21 years old. Gosh, I wish I could get a break like that when I was in my early 20s. Be it get in radio or get on a coaching staff, or even if it's just like a video assistant, something. Just something. I mean, you just never know. It's just amazing. I ended up winning a championship and losing a final before that for that club in his mid-20s. Mid-20s. Yep. So hell of a run. He's only 58 years old. And again, I say only because he was the last head coach of the Hartford Whalers. Again, they left Hartford in 1997. So it's just putting that into perspective. I thought I'd bring that up. And the other thing that I think to put into perspective about Paul Maurice, very little chance he would have been a Hall of Famer. I mean, like maybe it would have been in the conversation, especially like if it's just kind of, he got the Panthers to the Cup final again, he got to his second Cup final in Florida's franchise, coming from the scrap heap to the Stanley Cup final. Again, thanks to the GM as well, making some spectacular moves along the way, getting to Chuck and Bennett and all them. And sticking with Bobrovsky, where a lot of us thought that was kind of stupid. Spencer Knight's your future goalie. What are you doing? Why are you signing Bobrovsky to a huge, 10-year contract? Didn't you just draft Spencer Knight? Well, Bob has been the guy. He's got 2 Stanley Cup rings now, or at least he will have his second one soon. But to me, Paul Maurice is a Hall of Fame coach for sure now. There's just no doubt, is there? If you disagree, go ahead and let me know. I would think most of you would agree at this point. The longevity combined now with multiple rings and just an exquisite job, quite frankly. Amazing job. Like last year, I was on Florida almost the whole year. Florida's going to win the Stanley Cup. Florida's going to win the Stanley Cup, and they did. This year, it was Edmonton's going to win the Stanley Cup. Edmonton's going to win the Stanley Cup. Things went south, and then I was like, oh, maybe it's going to be Vegas this year. So I jumped on Vegas before the postseason, which probably irritated some local fans here, considering who they played in the first round and almost lost there when they probably should have, if not for some stupid moves and stupid play by Nyquist and some below-average coaching by John Hines, as far as I'm concerned. Then Vegas got smoked by Edmonton pretty much, didn't they, after that? And it's like, whoa, man. It was pretty much after Edmonton beat the Kings. They came back from that 2-0 deficit and just kicked their ass after that. I was like, okay, yeah, Edmonton's back. They almost had it, and then, well, everything went south pretty quickly in the Stanley Cup final. Florida deserves so much credit for everything they've done. Obviously, the coaching staff, Paul Maurice, I've said enough. Sam Bennett led them in scoring this year with 81 points. The Chuck missed, what did he miss, 30 games? Of course, again, with some serious issues there, thanks to that Four Nations Cup type of deal. Anton Lundell is not making me forget about Marco Rossi. He played 79 games and had 45 points, so it's not like, oh my God. Nope, I'm happy with Rossi, but now, of course, the franchise might not be. Sam Reinhart led the team in scoring, which is the darndest thing. Again, the Chuck missing 30 games, still at 57 points. He's a spectacular player. And then Dmitry Kulikov as well, which might irritate some Wild fans locally. 2 Stanley Cups for Dmitry Kulikov. Congratulations to you. Seth Jones as well. Congratulations there. Acquired from a sappy and crappy Blackhawks team. Yeah, they just did a wonderful job, wonderful organization, and again acquiring Brad Marchand as well. Marchand, who only had 10 regular, he had 10 regular season games with Florida with only 4 points. You're thinking, oh, he's kind of over the hill. Then here come the playoffs, and it's like, holy bleep, this guy is serious stuff. Nate Schmidt, I believe, doesn't he have 2 cups now? Nope, he was with Winnipeg Jets. That's Paul Maurice's former team, but I think Maurice. Yeah, he was there late. But Nate Schmidt, former Gopher, now gets a Stanley Cup. Good for you. Spencer Knight did get dealt during the course of the season. He was still in the organization as long as he was. Now he's a Blackhawk of all teams. That's kind of funny. He actually did a pretty respectable job with Florida, but Bob was they just kept him in there, and well, they got two Stanley Cups to show for it. So it's a lot more than a lot of other people, including the local club. I'm just being honest with you. Impressive job, Florida. That's all I got to say. Did I want Edmonton? Yeah. But was I devastated and like bleep Florida? No. Not like OKC Thunder that are flashing on the screen right now. You think I want them to win as I prep for segment 1.5 for Timberwolves Explosion? You think I want OKC to win? No. Luckily, at the moment that I'm recording this, Indiana is winning Game 6 pretty handily at halftime. But you know what's happened since then, I'm sure. One way or another, so on and so forth. Bobrovsky with 5 shutouts during the year, but even Knight had 2 shutouts for Florida, but now he's a Chicago Blackhawk. So he was there all the way up until this year, crazy as that might sound. How old is Spencer Knight by now? I think he was drafted a year before Wallstedt. Yeah, he's 24, or 2 years before, I think. They were really excited, and then it's like they drafted him, and then they signed Bob the next day, basically, to a 10-year contract or something. It was like, okay, sure. So you picked him with the 13th pick for what again? It's like a Kirk Cousins kind of thing, almost, but reverse. It's like, no, yeah. It'd be like first you draft Michael Penix, and then you sign Kirk Cousins, and then you end up trading him to the the Jacksonville Jaguars or something, which is basically what the Blackhawks are right now. But no, I mean Florida, an amazing playoff run. They really impressed everybody. They destroyed Carolina along the way. Incredibly impressive. Just the way they started the postseason, it was like, whoa, they're serious again. They look like a Stanley Cup contender again. During the course of the season, they look kind of mediocre. Nico Sturm, isn't this his second cup? Yeah, it is. Colorado Avalanche, you son of a gun. 2 lousy assists in 13 lousy games for the lousy Avalanche in 22. 3 lousy assists in the 21 games he played there after the Wild traded him there. Him being Nico Sturm. 2 Stanley Cups. He's the John Sally of hockey. No, not really. He doesn't have like 5 titles, does he? What did John Sally have? Like 4 or 5 titles, and he was like a 11th or 12th guy. Famous media member. But yeah, 2 with the Pistons, 1 with the Bulls, the 97 Bulls, I think. Or 98, one of those years. And then won a championship with Phil Jackson again with the Lakers. Or is it 2 titles with them? It's kind of funny. John Sally. Yeah, I mean, Sturm went from the Sharks to the Panthers. Wow, man. What a break that is. The Sharks. The Minnesota Wild reject team. The Sharks. All the guys that are just not good wind up there. Yeah. 1 assist in 15 games. 8 games in the postseason. Anyone? Nothing. Not even a penalty minute. But that's okay. You got a Stanley Cup. Congratulations, Nico Sturm. Congratulations. I've gone on and on here, and I apologize. It's probably way longer than it should be. But with that said, just impressive job by Florida. They are, at the NHL level, they are the state of hockey, as far as I'm concerned, right now. I mean, there's no doubt. How can they not be? So, congratulations to the state of Florida, and of course, to the Florida Panthers and their fan base, which went through some pretty damn lean years. I mean, they went to the East Finals in 2012, I think. Got beat by New Jersey. Then the Kings ended up beating those New Jersey Devils after beating the Arizona Coyotes. It was like the year of the underdog in 2012. That was fun. Wasn't that fun? It was like LA versus Phoenix, and LA was like the 8th seed. Phoenix was like 7. I think New Jersey might have been the 6th seed, and Florida was like 7th or 8th. I mean, that was fun, man. I was like, what if it was Florida and Phoenix? That would have been awesome. But, well, whatever. That didn't happen. Okay, I've babbled enough. Again, congratulations, Florida. And we'll see what the future holds for the Minnesota Wild next in segment 2. And we are back here on Brave the Wild, segment number 2. Hope you enjoyed segment 1.5. Of course, I invented that a few years ago. First on Timberwolves Explosion, because these are these State of the Wild or State of the Timberwolves. It's supposed to be mostly about the actual team rather than like the league. But we got to have that cute little segment 1.5. You like that invention? It's kind of cool, huh? So draft and free agency. Minnesota Wild will not, which you already knew, have a first round pick this year because we traded that first round pick, which would apparently would have been number 20 to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Apparently they would be taking a left defenseman named Cameron Reed, who's 6 foot. In 65 games in the OHL, he had 40 points. Not bad. 14 of those goals. Number 1 pick is supposed to be Matthew Schaefer. Number 1 overall pick, left defenseman. In only 17 games at 22 points. Interesting. Michael Meza would be going to the San Jose Sharks to hopefully really help bolster that team just even more now that they already have Scalabrini. One of the first overall picks that's actually looking like the phenom he's supposed to be. Bedard kind of is becoming the phenom he's supposed to be. Lafreniere, Byfield, guys like that, not so much. And boy, those guys were supposed to be spectacular, but well, they're in the NHL. But and I wouldn't compare them to Benoit Pouliot or anything, but I certainly wouldn't compare them to Connor McDavid or anything like that either. Or Connor Bedard, or an even better version, Scalabrini, who I think I think he's probably the best number 1 pick since since Connor Bedard, since Connor McDavid. I think he's the best first overall pick since Connor McDavid. That's my personal opinion, and I apologize for that, but who cares? That was like a quick fix. Ha ha ha, funny. We'll leave that in. It's not that big a deal, actually. Oh, I just ruined the show because the air conditioner went on for a millisecond. Oh, the show's over. Got to start all over from scratch. No, I don't. Yeah, a lot of these picks have been all over the place. Yeah, people have been trading their picks all over the place. You'll see the Wild's former picks went to this team and to that team, like the Sharks have a former pick that's number 50. I'm looking at the wrong thing completely. The Minnesota Wild do have the number 2 pick. I don't know what made me say that. It's really weird. It's the Ottawa Senators that the Sharks pick is 53. At number 52 is where the Wild will finally be picking. According to Tankathon, we'll use that for now. Nathan Behem, 6'2", winger. Apparently, he can play both left and right. Apparently, born in 2007. You realize a year later, I was doing Brave the Wild in August. Now this is April 2007, but still, do you realize in August 2008 I was doing Brave the Wild? So we're about getting to that point. I believe by about next year. Yeah, see, like right to the 58th pick, a guy named Peyton Kettles, who somebody like Derek may have heard of. Yes, September 2007, I was already on YouTube talking about the Vikings. I mean, that's how long I've been doing this stuff. And I was already almost 30, so that's kind of sad. So, yeah, obviously late to everything, it seems like. Anyhow, Nathan Bem, I apologize, 6'2", about 200 pounds. He can play both sides. 59 games in the WHL for Kamloops. We've definitely heard of them before. 31 goals, 35 assists, 66 points. Interesting, pretty cool. His NHLE is 27.7. Interesting. Yeah. So we dig a little deeper. But that's where we have him at the moment. Let's get that Victor Eklund guy. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, there was an Eklund who used to play for the Dallas Stars and other teams. I don't think he was that great. He was like a decent player, where this one is, supposed to be way up there. Yeah, interesting. Nathan Bem is from Canada, of course, and he is playing in the Western Hockey League. Very, obviously in the 18 years of age range. Would be a nice, probably, it's like a Ryder Ritchie type of a pick. One of those wingers that can score. Basically, a winger that can score. That's kind of the only comparison I can kind of come up with. I'm sure I sound like a fool to some of you, and maybe like, yeah, I guess, he's a winger that can score. And as you dig deeper and deeper into the draft, we're not talking about the top 10 picks here where like a lot of people have seen something, and you have a good idea comparing players. You got to be pretty hardcore and pretty, you got to have, let's just say you have I won't say you have too much time on your hands because that's arrogant and rude. And when people tell me that about my podcast, I want to break their neck. I work 2 jobs, you son of a bitch. That's what I want to tell the person. Because somebody said that one time. I almost broke the guy's neck. I'm not even kidding. Dead serious. Anyhow, Jacob. Yeah, I'm a little. No, I'm not that sensitive, but I was pissed off. Jacob Rumbach from the Gophers, apparently. Defenseman would be going with a pick right after. Well, how dare you, Minnesota? You passed on Jacob Rumbach. Sorry. He will be a left defenseman, 6'6", a beast. You want that size, Bill? Come on, get the size, Bill. Come on, Bill. I thought you were about size. Or no, sorry, we're about Fing winning. Yeah, I forgot about that part. Well, maybe they're about Fing winning in the regular Fing season, but when the Fing playoffs start, we're not about Fing winning. We're about working hard and trying our best, and we just tried real hard, and we almost had it. If not for being a complete stupid idiot and being offsides on a play that you just had no business being offsides on. But excuse me, but I digress. God help us. God help us. Wasn't that wonderful? Don't you just want that guy back? Don't you just want him back? Yeah, I want him back so bad. Whatever his name is, Nyquist. Don't you just want him back? Oh, sure I do. I can't wait. Just kidding. I'm sure we'll sign him to a 3-year deal with a no-move clause, and he'll get about, 35 points in the next 3 years. First year, he'll get about 25 of them, and then he'll get a couple more points, and he'll never play again. Next, Pittsburgh Penguins apparently have the Minnesota Wild pick, which would be 84th. This is in the 3rd round. How quaint. Probably traded about 15 different guys over the course of time. Oh, well, it's still better than basketball, where they're trading away like 2nd-round picks in the 2030s. Yeah, or at least in the late 2020s. Trading away 2nd-round picks in the 2030s. I mean, it was becoming a gag. It really was. When I was reviewing the draft, I like the free agency and draft shows more than anything else. When I do both the Wild and the Timberwolves, it is so much fun. I love those shows, and I like State of the Wild too. These are fun. They're just a little bit scarier because there's a lot going on, a lot to talk about. Buffalo has the Minnesota Wild's pick in the 4th round, at least in this case, with the 116th pick. But then Minnesota does pick 121st. Emile Guité from Chico Coutimi from the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. What a surprise, yes. Le Poisson, parlez-vous français? Emile Guité from Chicoutimi, and I'm probably completely mispronouncing it. My apologies. I'm dead serious, by the way. Acquired from the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm not even doing the accent correctly. And yes, coming to Minnesota. Maybe from the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. 59 games. Sorry, I can't stop sometimes. He's a left winger. 30 points in 59 games. How exciting. But, well, it is what it is. Doesn't mean he sucks. It's just, I don't know. It just means he had 30 points in 59 games, I guess. 16 goals and 14 assists. I'm sorry. I'm always weird on this show, aren't I? Lako Yaroslavl. No, this is a guy. That's where he's playing. Very, a little bit easier, a little bit harder to pronounce than the Owen sound, where Harry Nancy is from, or is playing on anyway in the Ontario Hockey League. A center with 23 points in 67 games. Anyhow, Ilis Magomed Sultanov. Magomed Sultanov. Say that fast 3 times, and I'll give you a pat on the back. Yeah, that's as far as I'm going. But wow, 7 points in 40 games in the MHL. That is, of course, the AHL affiliate of. Well, it's the AHL. It's the equivalent of the AHL for the KHL, if you know what I'm talking about, over in Russia. And yeah, that's great. So the mock draft goes up to 4 rounds. Understandably, we're not going to go all the way up to the Mr. Irrelevant of the hockey draft, I suppose. So am I excited about this draft? No. I wish I could be, but I mean, maybe you'll find a diamond in the rough. Maybe you'll find the next Braden Point. I mean, he went in the 3rd round. But of course, we traded that pick to go down one spot and take what was that guy's name? I almost forgot. I could probably dig and get him. You probably don't want to hear his name anymore, but yeah, Louis Belpedio. It just rolls right off your tongue, Louis Belpedio. One pick higher because we traded one lousy spot with the Tampa Bay Lightning to take Braden Point. I know, it just feels so good, doesn't it? But that's Chuck Fletcher. He knew what he was doing. He was good, you know. He was great. How many points does Louis Belpedio have in the NHL? 6. He did have 4 points last year, though. Well, 23-24 anyway. He had 4 points for the Flyers. Chuck Fletcher got him back. Chuck Fletcher got him back. There you go, Chuck. I mean, there you go. Wound up being traded to the Montreal Canadiens affiliate to Laval Rockets. And then it wound up in the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, which is, of course, the AHL affiliate for the Philadelphia Flyers. Cool franchise, but I don't know. Louis Belpedio wound up with the Philadelphia Flyers organization. He's still there. 28 points in the AHL this last year. 28 points. Braden Point, anyone? Would you like Braden Point? Would you? Yeah, me too. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm really not, I swear. Just breaks my heart. Let's see, Braden Point. How many points does he have? 635 in 657 games. Louis Belpedio has 6 and 16. Okay, yes, I've belabored that topic enough, as have probably many other Minnesota Wild podcasts. But that's kind of, I guess, there's not much of a draft to preview. At least, there just isn't. What do we have, like 5 picks or something? I mean, what the hell, you know? And again, you traded away your second-round pick to the Nashville Predators. I mean, I'm just so happy. Thanks for that. But we do have a second-round pick anyway, thank God. Or we traded a second-round pick. It must have been a secondary one. Or was it next year's? Excuse me. Yeah, that was next year's. Because we better keep that and get Nathan Bam, I guess. Who wouldn't be a bad pick from what I'm seeing anyway. I don't think he'd be a bad pick. It's just that... I don't know if he moves the needle or anything, but I don't know. What the hell do I know? I mean, Neil Yakupov didn't move the needle either, and he went top of the draft for the Edmonton Oilers years ago. Wow. Anyhow, well, best of luck to all involved in the NHL mock draft. I still look forward to it every year. I remember the Timberwolves in the past would have, what were we picking, like at the end of the first round, and then all of a sudden they trade up to the 8th overall pick, which in the past never happened. So with Tim Conley for the Timberwolves, he went, Tim Conley for the Timberwolves, went all the way, since he's been in charge, you just never know what's going to happen. It's like you have to watch the draft, even if the Wolves are picking like 50th, which in the NBA might as well be the equivalent of the 7th round in the NHL. Pretty much. And the NBA teams trade second-round picks as if they're like quarters. Like, yeah, here's a quarter. Here's from 1997. Oh, here's another quarter from 2003. Yeah, it's another quarter. Oh, yeah. Oh, thanks. You gave me a quarter? Cool. Yeah, like getting your change back for buying a Coke or something. Oh, this one's from 2017. Okay. That's about how they treat second-round picks in the NBA. I don't know. I like them. I like second-round picks. It's an opportunity to find a diamond in the rough. But anyhow, I'm digressing way too much. This show's like, probably you're like, okay, Joey, can you just shut up? Yes, I apologize. Tavares. Wow. Well, that's staying out there. It is. Go ahead and laugh. Mitch Marner. Yep, will be getting a pretty hefty payday one way or another. He made almost $11 million last year. John Tavares did. He's almost 35. Marner just turned 28. Jamie Benn's turning 36. He made $9.5. He will not be making that next year. Odds are he stays with the Stars, and some people are thinking, well, why don't you go out and sign him? I can't believe Brent Burns is a 20-year veteran. He's over 40 years old now. I remember looking at that cute little baby face, 18-year-old, who was just drafted by the Wild in the previous spring. And I shook his hand, and it was the coolest thing ever. It's like a taste of the Wild thing. I'm pretty sure they still do it, obviously, but yeah. I'm more covering the team than following a lot of that stuff. But because obviously it is what it is. But it was the coolest thing ever. This young 18-year-old. Obviously, I knew who he was, but it's like, man, now he's over 40 years of age. It's like a different world, isn't it? It's kind of crazy. Every time I think of Brent Burns, I still see that 18, that nice, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed 18-year-old. I wish he was still that young and the Wild could have him back, honestly. But some people are even talking about bringing him back. Wouldn't that be kind of interesting? Free agent, by the way. So this is free agency. Claude Giroux, I don't think he's coming here. Probably not. He's probably going to stick around where he's at. Ottawa. Claude Giroux. Brock Besser is the free agent that a lot of people think could be happening at some point. He made almost $7 million last year, so that's one thing to think about. He is under 30, which... But he was in the same draft as Mr. Kirill Kaprizov, so there you go. I mean, at least he's the same age as your best player. Talk about Kirill Kaprizov as he could be making about 15 a year, which is, like NBA level money. Yeah, which is, again, sad. Like TJ Oshie made under $6 million. He's retiring, basically. Under $6 million. Stanley Cup champion with St. Louis, of course, and has been with Washington recently. Or no, he won it with Washington, didn't he? I'm all mixed up in my head here. Did he win it with Washington or St. Louis? Doggone it. I can't even tell you. No, I think it was with Washington, actually, yeah. 28. No? Washington was before St. Louis. I think he won it with St. Louis. Or, who cares, right? I'm glad he won the Stanley Cup. That's all you need to know, right? Okay, I'm an idiot. So my apologies for that. Yeah, I have to verify now, and I just put my foot in my mouth. He won the Stanley Cup with Washington. Okay, yeah. I thought he was with Washington at the time. I apologize. He was with St. Louis, but several years before he went to Washington, and they won the Stanley Cup a year before the Blues did. So at least I knew that. Duh. Anyhow, free agency, TJ Oshie's retiring, so he's not coming to, like his semi-home, his second home of Minnesota. He's not originally from Minnesota. Mikhail Granlund is a free agent. He's 33 plus already. Wow. Did pretty good with Dallas last year at $5 million a year. So we'll see what happens. I don't really want the Wild to bring in a 30-plus guy. I just don't. Brock Besser I'd be okay with, but I don't want to throw the bank at him either. I just don't. I was talking about on the been great show, by the way. At the time I'm recording segment 2 anyway. The Crease Assist podcast. They were talking about. I was. They were reading my reply about. The contract situation with Mr. Marco Rossi. That's definitely a part of this show right now. I should probably get into that right about now. Free agency, how he desires 7 and 7. 7 years, 7 per, that type of thing, which is exactly what Kevin Fiala wanted years ago, right before he got traded for Brock Faber and Liam Ogren. Ultimately, that's after the trade was completed by making that draft pick from the Los Angeles Kings. Well, but that's basically what Marco Rossi is seeking, and that is what Matt Boldy got. 7 years, $7 million. So he's like, well, give it to me, dang it. And the Wild are kind of like, not so fast. You didn't, maybe you're not, your size is an issue, and maybe consistency and this and that. Maybe you can't do quite what we need for us to fork over that kind of money. I don't know. It'd be nicer if they could come to some kind of common ground, like 7 years, 6.5, something like that, or 7 years, $6 million. That'd be even better. Odds are that Marco Rossi has played his last game for the Minnesota Wild, whether I like it or not, that he ultimately will be traded before they can come to any type of financial agreement. Kirill Kaprizov is going to stay, like 90% chance. He's going to stay. It probably won't happen in 5 minutes, but he will be staying at probably $15 million bleeping dollars a year. Brock Besser, again, so that's where the question comes in. Is he willing to, I remember I went over his stats in the last episode. Brock Nelson is gone, which is totally fine with me. Did they give him $7.5 million for 3 years? 3 years, $7.5 million per. Oh man, I mean, like what? Like by a year from now, they'll be like, why the bleep did we do that? They'll be screaming like, did we really just do that? I mean, at least it's 3 years, but shoot, sheesh. I mean, I don't know. It's a pretty irritating contract. Brock Besser's career high is 73 points. Last year he had 50 in 73 games, 50 points, 25 goals, 25 assists. He did have a 40-goal season in 23-24. 40-goal season for 73 points. Other than that, Besser is kind of like a 55-ish type of a guy. 55-point type of guy, 20 to 25 goals a year, and when you do the math, the amount of assists is slightly higher, like a little under 30 or slightly over 30, that kind of thing. You get the idea. In the postseason, Vancouver Canucks went that far? I don't remember them getting that far in 2020. Something wrong with me? But I suppose, we played some extra games. There was that little play-in thing. So it might have been a little bit longer. Did they go that far? I guess they did. 17 playoff games, only 11 points. That's not that great. Whereas in 23-24, the Canucks played. They at least got to the second round. So Canucks got to the conference final, huh? The year before. I don't remember that. That's weird. I don't remember Vancouver doing that well that year. I know they knocked us out right around my birthday. Bastards. But last year, 23-24, 2 years ago now, Canucks did get to the second round. He was a point-a-game guy in the 12 games. 12 games, 12 points, 7 goals, 5 assists. That's okay. So at least he performs a little bit in the playoffs, but he hasn't had a whole hell of a lot of playoff experience. That's one thing to talk about. And again, like a 50-ish, 55-point guy, basically, like I was already saying. So am I jumping for joy at the thought of getting Brock Besser? Not really, but I'd rather have him in the second line role, than Marcus Johansson. Would I like to see Liam Ogren there and getting 55 points? Yes. That's probably your best case scenario at the end of the day because, let's see, Brock Besser might be making $6 million or something like that. Something along those lines. Depending on if he wants to do a hometown discount, it's $575 or something like that for like 4 or 5 seasons. Something along those lines. I don't know if we're signing him to 7. I don't think so. But anywhere from 3 to 5 years with Brock Besser or something along those lines. Or Liam Ogren on his entry-level contract. At least for the time being. Entry-level contract. Now, obviously, those aren't as long as they are in, say, like other sports, but I don't know. It seems like entry-level contracts are pretty short. Like in the NFL with J.J. McCarthy, with J.J. McCarthy, that's a different story. You have like a 3 to 4 year window to have a quarterback that you're paying hardly anything, and you can build around him, and dang, we might go all the way. That kind of stuff. In hockey, it's a little bit shorter, unfortunately. I'm just dancing all over the place again. Sam Bennett made less than $4.5 million last year. He's looking for a 8-figure a year contract. I think possibly like 10 million-ish, 9 million, maybe not 10. Yeah, something like that. He's going to get paid a lot. I don't think the Wild get him. Patrick Kane made $4 million last year. It was a 1-year, $4 million contract. That's about the maximum I'd give Patrick Kane. I mean, yes, I remember Patrick Kane and his hat trick for Patrick and all that stuff when he used to score hat tricks against the Wild. That's not who he is anymore. So that's one thing to think about. Obviously, and he's almost 37, just bleeping old. So, I mean, it'd be cool just for the sake of Patrick Kane was on the Wild. Wow. But so was Danny Heatley. And remember, he was an awesome 100-point guy for the Sharks and the Atlanta Thrashers, or the Flaming Thrashers. Might be a cool name idea. There's a logo out there where it's got that Atlanta Flames A in the background behind. It's like a logo combining the two together. And it's just kind of thrown out there like they're saying, what'll be the name of the third chance if Atlanta gets the, because if Atlanta gets the next, expansion, whatever. And like if they're chosen as one of the 2 cities that will get expansion, because they approved they approved the plan for the new arena there in Atlanta, or one of the Atlanta suburbs anyway. And it was the coolest logo I've ever seen in terms of just combine the two together. Maybe you could call them the Flaming Thrashers. The Atlanta Flaming Thrashers or something like that. Do it. It was the coolest looking thing because it's not like you're stealing the Atlanta Flames logo necessarily. Like, clearly it is the Atlanta Flames logo, but it's being covered up by the Thrasher, which is 100%, that got thrown to the wayside and turned into this Labatt blue-looking logo that the Winnipeg Jets are using, which I think sucks. I'd rather them go back to the old days if you're the Winnipeg Jets. I don't know what the heck they were thinking at the end of the day. Go back to the old days. Just imagine, the North Stars, we're getting the North Stars back or whatever, and then they come up with some, I don't know, boring-looking thing, and, that N Star, that's old. That's old. We're not going. That's the past. I'd be like, bleep you. I would be so mad. I'm like, I'm not gonna buy your hat then, you jerks. I don't know. There I go on another weird rant, but I mean, I'm telling you, that look, I should post it on the at Brave the Wild. and ask what people think. Like, wouldn't this make a cool logo for the new Atlanta team if there is a new Atlanta franchise? And there probably will be if they already have a new, brand new facility or a brand new arena approved. Looked really cool, honestly. And yeah, it's the same logos kind of just combined together with a little kind of a flame added. And I'm not even sure if they were trying to do that. They're just trying to say like it's Atlanta and the or it's the Flames and the Thrashers. I'd call them the Flaming Thrashers. It's a cool name. Anaheim Mighty Ducks. You know, Minnesota North Stars instead of just the Stars. Yeah, you get the idea. Yeah, I know. I think it's cool though. Maybe I'm just talking to myself and everyone's like, "Who? What the hell?" Gustav Nyquist. Hey, 3.1 million, 3.185. You know, that's a bargain of a deal. Remember, he had 75 points. No, that's okay. No, seriously. Jeff Skinner, remember how good he was with Buffalo years ago? $3 million with Edmonton, free agent, 33 years of age. The guy that's been brought up a lot because of how freaking good he was last year is Matt Duchene, former Colorado Avalanche, former Ottawa Senator, and a few other teams, but of course, really, really strong season with Dallas last year at only $3 million per. Imagine if the Wild signed Matt Duchene for $3 million. How about this? The Wild never signed Marcus Johansson, other than, I suppose, like I talked about earlier, Marcus Johansson in a fourth line role. And that's it. Maybe a little bit of third if, like, whatever, you know, that's just the way it goes. But anything above the third line, that needs to be a bulletproof ceiling. Not a glass ceiling, a bulletproof ceiling. No, you shall not pass. You know? Where's, what's his name? What was his name again? That big giant wizard. Was it Windu or something? You shall not pass. That's what they should tell him about trying to get past the third line to the second. Just luckily with that salary, probably not. I mean, what is he making? $800,000. So a little different. Free agency to me though. I mean, who knows with this stupid? You know, as much as I liked, it sounds past tense, doesn't it? Bill Guerin. Some of the free agent moves that he's made over the years, I have almost no confidence whatsoever in the guy. I'm dead serious. I am dead bleeping serious. Maybe throw some money at Capo Caco. I don't know. He's doing well in Seattle. He was a bust in New York. He was. I mean, that's another super high pick that was supposed to kick major butt, and he hasn't really. But at least he did in New York, and then in Seattle he showed some promise. So I don't know. If I'm Capo Caco, I stay there. Restricted free agent, but I don't know. He'd be an interesting thing to look at. Utah Mammoth, of course, 2.1 Nick Bukestad. No, we're not going to bring Nick Bukestad back, but he's been good there. Just stay there if they want you back. Druin, interesting one there. He's a left winger. I kind of like Jonathan Druin. Just over 30. If you can get him, he's one of those guys like in the past. We were always talking about picking him up for cheap and something cool could happen. Cody Glass is a center who used to be with Vegas Golden Knights. He was their first ever first-round pick, and he hasn't done a whole lot, really, has he? Not a whole lot. You wish he could, but he just hasn't. Cody Glass. Remember, the Timberwolves once had a first-round pick with the last name Glass, Gerald Glass. Cody Glass is from Winnipeg. Career high with Nashville in 22-23 was 35 points. Well, he was on Pittsburgh, won up with the New Jersey Devils, finished with 22 points. 22 points in 65 games, as we do the math. But he was a +4 with New Jersey, though. Oh, man. I thought he was a little bit better than that. He was a 6th overall pick. Whew. Well, Vegas can sign free agents because people want to play there. Oh, yes. Speaking of which, thank you, Lord, for triggering that memory by talking about that. Michael Russo had a statement that pretty much says it all about what free agents are kind of thinking about the Minnesota Wild. It's coming from a very recent Worsties in the House. Great podcast, of course. So, yeah, we're going to give you a tiny little clip of that. Hopefully they don't mind.
Yeah, and like, look, I hate, like, Wild fans have waited so long for this that I hate to say wait another year, because the problem is, too, Anthony, is that, like, while next year's lister is really, really sexy, you know, with, like, McDavid and Kaprizov and Eichel and all these guys, the reality is we both know that it's, at the end of the day, if teams want to keep their players, they're going to extend them this summer or in the middle of next year, and next year's free agent class will be underwhelming as well. Like teams keep the players they want to keep. And then the other thing is, with everybody having incredible cap space now as the cap continues to climb and climb and climb in the league, what is drawing those players to Minnesota? Like if Jack Eichel is on the free agent market, sorry, everybody, he's going to Boston or something. He's not signing in Minnesota. And that's the problem. That's where the Wild have to get to, is they have to now, like that to me is what Bill Guerin's got to now achieve here, is turn this team into a destination, make players want to come to Minnesota. You right now, I'm sorry, when I talk to players and they ask me about Minnesota, their opinion is always, they're always in the middle. They can't get over the hump. This is the perception out there when you have 8 first-round exits in the last 10 years. And that's something that's got to change. And so I don't know. I don't know how they handle this. And that's why, to me, the trade market is the best route for them to go. And that's why the David Juracek trade still concerns the heck out of me, when you give up that many assets for a player that Craig Button even said publicly to Joe Smith he doesn't even think is going to be a top 4 defenseman, that he thinks he's a third pair guy.
What do you think of that? State of hockey, destination place for a minute for free agents? I'm sorry, it's according to Michael Russo, it's not. Michael Russo, is not somebody that hates the Wild. And honesty is the best policy. It is what it is. You got to be honest about things. You got to be honest about situations and such. Honesty is the best policy, and it's like the only policy as far as I'm concerned on Brave the Wild. At least I'd like to believe so. Do I want the Wild to win? Do I have this side? Like, go get them, guys. Yes. But, I mean, do I think players out there can't wait to suit up for the Minnesota Wild, or they look at us like, well, they haven't done anything? Yeah, I think they do look at that. Yeah, like they're a franchise that's had some success, but not really much. It's like you plant seeds in the ground. Maybe a corn on the cob needs to be this might be the weirdest, most like what the hell's wrong with Joey comparison ever. Maybe it's supposed to be like 6-7 feet tall, whatever. And it's like you plant the seeds, it's growing, and it got to be about 3.5, 4 inches, or 3.5, 4 feet high. You got some corn, but it's, I don't know, but it never got higher. I don't know. That's weird. Or it just never got to a point it even sprouted corn. But it grew, though. It didn't die. It grew. But it just never got past the hump. And that's kind of what the conversation is when it comes to the Minnesota Wild, yes. Who would have thought picking corn would be compared to winning a Stanley Cup? Picking fresh, legitimate, ripe corn. Only on Brave the Wild. That's what you get here on Brave the Wild. Let me tell you. That's what you get. Picking corn be compared to winning a Stanley Cup. Next, Nico Sturm, former Wild center. He's on the Florida Panthers. Congratulations, at least, And Marco Rossi's a restricted free agent. Yep, made less than $2 million. Looking for $7 million. Will they find a common ground? I have no idea. Jack McBain, he can do something. Apparently, I'm sure Bill Guerin's taking that behind the scenes. He's a restricted free agent. John Klingberg, well, we kind of tried that already and stuff. Kuznetsov is a restricted free agent. And that was probably one of the reasons why the Wild traded him. They figured we're not going to re-sign him anyway. See if we can get a couple of, we could get a couple of Doritos or something for him, which is kind of almost what the Wild did. But we just had to throw in that draft pick, too, because that's how smart we are here in Minnesota. We're just very smart. We got to throw in draft picks, too. We're smart. Damn it. Pat Maroon, no idea why he was even on the Blackhawks. Merrill's an unrestricted free agent. That felt like about four years longer than it needed to be. Corey Prairie, come and win the Stanley Cup here, Corey. Come on. You can finally get it now, right? No, I'm just kidding. Again, at the time I'm recording this segment, you can read between the lines there. Anyhow, where else do we go here? Yeah, we're kind of digging in way too deep. I mean, Pat Maroon shouldn't even be a conversation anymore. So, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like a Brock Besser type of move or some other, I don't know, like a Druin, somebody like that. Or you just, like what a lot of people do want, is to just say bleep it. Just wait. Just wait. Let the young guys play. Liam Ogren. I want to see Liam Ogren. I want Liam Ogren to play for the Minnesota Wild.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I want to see, obviously, Steve Williams. He's going to be here, though, so that's fine. David Jiricek is the huge conversation that we're going to have. He is the conversation. I hope I'm getting this right. Probably not. Oh, wow, I did spell it correctly. Good job. Former 6th overall pick, 2022. Matt Dumba was taken 7th several years ago. Why am I bringing up Matt Dumba? I compared Jiricek kind of to Dumba with the skating ability and the big shot. Jiricek is certainly larger, but not as good of a skater. That's the thing. Both of them do have that bomb of a shot. So far in the NHL, David Jiricek's career high in 43 games with Columbus was 10 points. He has never scored 2 goals in a season, but he did have 1 goal and 1 assist in 6 games for the Minnesota Wild last season. Otherwise, with Iowa, only 27 games, 7 assists. -1, though, which is a lot better than some of the other defensemen with the Iowa Wild. I don't think I brought this up in segment 1. Maybe I did, actually, whereas Brett McLean, yes, it didn't work out. I was talking about that, yeah. Didn't work out, so we'll see what happens with Iowa, who the head coach is going to be there. But, and then what's his name, ruptured his spleen. So that's extremely disappointing and sad. I just picked up the Iowa Hawkeyes. How stupid. Stupid. Iowa Wild coach, thank you very much. So I'm just kind of messing around and such. Well, they're saying it's Brett McLean, but he's not anymore. He's not the head coach. I just wanted to make sure, unless something else happened. But Brett McLean is now an assistant coach with the Vancouver Schmucks. David Jiricek, though, obviously a talented guy, but as you may have heard with Russo, if I play it, I think I left the bite with that in there, that Jiricek, this has to work out. Like, it needs to work out, because if it doesn't, holy crap. What an awful trade. I mean, you gave up a lot. You gave up a lot to get David Jiricek. It wasn't just like it wasn't, like a 3rd round pick and Damon Hunt. It was Damon Hunt and a 1st round pick. Yeah, expensive. And another pick along the way as well. So, kind of an expensive trade, and you're hoping that he is as good as a 6th overall pick is supposed to be. So far, all indications are he is not. All indications are he is not. Ruptured spleen last year. Obviously, a hit in the side is what causes that usually, or a car accident. But let's not even think about that. Thank you, Lord. Don't even want to think about that kind of stuff ever. The production just hasn't really been there, obviously. In a small sample size with the Cleveland Monsters, that's, of course, Columbus's AHL affiliate, he did have 3 points in only 4 games, and he had 2 goals in those 4 games. Ooh. So there's that. Most impressive season overall in terms of, like, AHL hockey, I guess. Yay. 22-23 with the Cleveland Monsters, 32 assists, 6 goals, 38 points in only 55 games, but a -11. So kind of everywhere Jiricek has gone, he's a minus this and a minus that for the most part. But only a -1 in 27 games with the Iowa Wild, And believe it or not, in the tiny little 6-game sample size for Minnesota, he was a +2. So that's kind of cool to think about. One other thing that I really am encouraged by, like in a huge way, and I think I brought this up much earlier in the year when the trade happened. So, you look at his production, it's not all that exciting, and da-da-da-da-da. He's minus this, and he's this and that, and he hasn't done this, and he's not doing that. Him being David Jiricek, of course. 23-24, the Cleveland Monsters went on a bit of a playoff run. And David Jiricek played in 14 games. How many points? 11. It's not bad. That's not bad. You remember, he is a defenseman. He's not the top-line center. He's not the Connor McDavid of the AHL. Okay? 11 points in 14 games. So, at least he performs in the playoffs. At least there's evidence that he performs in a postseason situation at the AHL level. But, hey, it's something. It's something to hang your hat on. Some guys that just have that little knack, like playoff Jiricek, playoff, Rajon Rondo in the NBA, where he'd be a good point guard in the NBA during the season for the Celtics or whoever, but the Celtics especially. And the playoffs roll around, and he's a guy that you'd want starting in the All-Star game. It was like, geez, this guy's way, like, this guy really turns it up. And hopefully Juracek can be more of a playoff Juracek type of guy, even though he would like some good regular seasons as well to go along with that. But maybe the Wild actually wins something if that mentality starts to kind of take over the Minnesota Wild and the franchise somehow. Like, here come the playoffs, and we're going to be even better than we ever were. That type of thing. So that's kind of the hope going forward at the end of the day, that Juracek ultimately can pan out and go beyond what he's been so far, that's for sure, because it hasn't been all that great. So far, he looks like, I'm knock on wood here, so far he looks like a bust. But I didn't say that out loud, okay? You didn't hear that on Brave the Wild, but so far he looks like a, yeah, he does. He does. And I don't know, again, hoping and praying that he can take that next step, again, him being David Juracek. Marco Rossi, yes, the conversation is how he's, again, put in his effort and all that off the ice. I agree with that take. Was it Kalisha Townsville? I think that was Teresa that brought it up on Crease Assist. Like, the guy literally sacrificed his entire summer, and even going to his sister's wedding back home and in Austria. Literally gave you everything effort wise. Clearly made a step forward. And even put in the fourth, and I've discussed this personally here on Brave the Wild a few times, that even when he was put in the fourth frickin' line in his first playoffs ever, like how guys didn't perform in their first playoffs, like Boldy didn't do bleep, and this guy didn't do, like Charlie Coyle hardly ever did anything on the Minnesota when it came to that. But Rossi still found a way to score 2 goals for Minnesota in the postseason. On the fourth line, by the way, where the opportunities are just simply not there. So that I think should be noted in a very positive way when you talk about Marco Rossi. When you think, oh, he's too small, he can't handle this, he can't handle that. He had a 60-point season last year. And clearly, despite the odds and despite the lack of opportunities being thrown in his direction by being plunked onto the fourth bleeping line in the playoffs, and he still scored 2 goals. That's kind of cool. That tells you something. There's a little it factor to Marco Rossi, isn't there? Marco Rossi, yeah, but I'm calling him this correctly. At least I'd like to believe I'm saying it correctly. Marco Rossi, Super Marco, and I'd like to have a Super Marco jersey, right, with that Mario mushroom. Super Marco. Yeah, I know, stealing Super Mario Brothers. They'll probably fire me. But it'd be kind of cool, though, Super Marco. But guys like that, obviously, are the key to the success of the franchise going forward. Ryder Ritchie, I'm very encouraged. He's another guy, again, that performs in the bleeping playoffs. He performs in the playoffs. He was a point-a-game guy for the WHL, and who won the championship? His team, Medicine Hat Tigers. Ryder Ritchie is a playoff performer. 9 goals, 9 assists, 18 games, 18 points. Year before, the, what are they called, Prince Albert Raiders, he was, he took kind of a baby step forward in the regular season. But then here come the playoffs, and he was over a point a game. 5 games, 7 points. Small sample size, but still clearly shows the guy steps up in the postseason. So I think Ryder Ritchie could bring that winner type of attitude. If only the son of a gun translates to the NHL, and I hope he does, because I'm going to be following Ryder Ritchie a lot closer than maybe like 2 years ago when he first came here. That type of thing, and I was very excited. He started off slow last year and then really picked up his game. And he had a hell of a year. He went from a -1 with Prince Albert to a +20. So I'm extremely encouraged with Ryder Ritchie's possible future for the local hockey club, if we could call them that. Charlie Stramel, I have no idea. They took a step forward. They became a national power and lost in the first round. I don't know what to tell you, buddy. But Charlie Stramel actually at least looked like something of a threat, to be a pretty good player. And he did score a pretty clutch goal against the Minnesota Gophers, much to my chagrin, in a crucial series with Michigan, back and forth, extremely frustrating. They're like one of those teams, like you're right there, you're going to beat them, and then Lucy pulled the ball away again. You know, that type of thing from Charlie Brown. That type of stuff. Where you're like, we got it this time. No, we didn't. You've got to be kidding me. Somehow he just gave up 2 goals in like 20 seconds, and now we're losing, and the game's over. Wow. That type of stuff. So, oh boy. David Spacek, of course, talked about him extensively. People are very excited about him as a prospect. The steps forward and such. The minus 17 is a little disappointing. I don't like that very much. That kind of sucks. But still, 31 points in 72 games. Clearly, there's productivity with David Spacek. What were the other players that I was looking at that it's like, whoa, look at this guy? Carson Lambos. That's the one. Only 19 points in 68 games, so the offense just kind of not a whole lot to write home about. But on that team, that wasn't good. Now they're better than they're better than the year before. Iowa was like maybe the worst team ever, basically, in the AHL the year before. They were Chicago White Sox bad, if that makes any sense, or Colorado Rockies bad, if you follow baseball. Like, they were awful, right? But last year, they were still pretty awful. Like, they were a well below average team in the AHL. Like, playoffs, don't talk about playoffs. Are you kidding me? Playoffs. Carson Lambos was a +5. That's good. That's really good. For a 21-year-old Winnipeg, Manitoba native, 21 years old, he's a +5. That deserves some kind of like a little bit of, yeah. See, because you like comparatively, try to look at some defensemen. Now, Cicerone, I can't compare that one. He was a +5 also from Youngstown, New York. Good for you, mate. No, good for him. Jack Perch, this is also very impressive. Only 7 lousy points in 53 games, and he was even. That's kind of cool, too. Trying to look at some other guys here. Kyle Masters in only 16 games as a -3. See? Stuff like that. Devin Shore, who's, one of those quad A guys. He's, pretty good at the AHL. He was a -11. That's lousy. Caden Bankier, -16. Michael Milne, -15. David Spacek, who I like a lot, but he was a -17. Again, a lot better than Ryan O'Rourke the year before, who had like a like 30, basically. It was 29, 28. Last year, O'Rourke went from that, like upper 20s, to a -8. So that's a big step forward, but still, dare I say, like miles behind Carson Lambos. And Ryan O'Rourke's a year older. So that's interesting to make note. Ryan O'Rourke -8, Carson Lambos +5. They both play defense, and Carson Lambos actually played more games as well. More opportunity in games that you could lose and fall behind and be a minus. Liam Holgren also, though, in 41 games, a +2. So there's something there. Obviously, almost a point a game in the AHL, just like Marco Rossi was when he broke into the National Hockey League. He became like a point a game guy basically at the AHL level, and then Marco Rossi became an NHL player, which is what you see today. An NHL player now that wants to, get that big contract. Who could blame him? Liam Holgren, will he get a big contract someday? Hopefully. Youngest player on the team, if I'm looking correctly, yes he is, along with David Juracek, way down there in age, and Hunter Haight, who also played a significant role, but he was a -15. Liam Holgren, though, in 40 games was a +2. So, can he take that step forward and be the regular in the National Hockey League? I'm really hoping so. So it all kind of depends on free agency, along with, whatever happens again with, free agency and signing. Yeah, free agency and a lot of that as well. Do we make a significant signing for a Brock Besser or some kind of crazy trade? Who knows? Wouldn't be surprised if the Wild made at least a somewhat significant trade this summer. I think they will. And hopefully it's not trying to give up more draft capital. I think we can cut that out for a minute. Minnesota Vikings and Minnesota Wild both need to chill on trading away draft picks because I don't know. Vikings are in better position than the Wild at the moment. But still, one way or another. Like, you got to have some draft capital for your franchise. So it is what it is. I think I've babbled enough here. I hope you don't mind. Hope you didn't mind this segment. I had a lot of fun doing it. I think it was a blast. And it's fun to talk about the future with this franchise, even though it looks kind of bleak. But surely, there's brighter days ahead. Surely, you're not serious about them. Well, I am serious, and don't call me Shirley. So hopefully the Minnesota Wild can have a bright future with some of these nice prospects that are, potential playoff performers. They certainly have been at the AHL level. So that's kind of cool. It's something to look forward to, or in the junior level for one of those other guys. Was it Ryder Ritchie? So we'll have to wait and see how all that takes place. With that, we'll take a quick break and return for some fun fan interaction right here on Brave the Wild. And we are back here on Brave the Wild, segment number 3, State of the Wild 2025 fan interaction segment at Brave the Wild. At Brave the Wild is where we are going to jump to. Thank you to those of you that were kind enough to retweet the most recent episode 382. The Wild signed Danilo Yurov and the playoffs continue. So Danilo Yurov is definitely part of the future, and that's one of the exciting things going into next season. Derek was responding. Okay, so at Crease and Assist, they just did a nice episode previewing the draft. Highly recommend that. As, of course, trying to release these shows enough before the draft. Highly recommend that one for a draft preview conversation. And really appreciate what Derek does there with Teresa and Kalisha. They do a great job. Derek was responding to something. Yeah, I was saying, as for Dallas winning, bleep them and their fans. Hope Edmonton takes them out. Derek says, shrugs, even though I picked Dallas to win the Stanley Cup in my bracket challenge, I don't really want to see them win it all. Selfishly, if Edmonton wins it all, it will put to rest the lame idea of that being bad didn't help the Oilers. Yep, it clearly did. Yeah, so like those crappy seasons. Yeah, like how people talk about we're grasping for straws. And like, maybe you should suck for a year or two and get some star players. Get some legitimate franchise-type players to lead your franchise. The Wild got insanely lucky. It's something that'll happen once every 50 years or so. You're going to get a franchise-level player in the 5th round. I mean, once in a while, yeah, you're going to, get super-duper lucky. But the Wild, in Minnesota franchises, it pretty much never happens. So it would be nice to have a Draisaitl to go with Kaprizov or a Connor McDavid to go with Kaprizov. Somebody, like a superstar level player to go with whichever you see Kaprizov as, a Draisaitl or a McDavid. Probably more in the Draisaitl department, but I don't know. Just throwing out names because I'm weird. Next, and thank you, Derek. Awesome start there. Considering here, the Creases podcast, Derek leading the way there, often puts out polls as well. So he puts out, considering position, production, age, and likely salary cost, which player from this list would you want the most of the Minnesota Wild next season? Mitch Marner, Tage Thompson, Brock Besser, and Brock Nelson. Well, Tage Thompson got a resounding victory. I do believe I voted for him, but maybe not. 78.5%. Mitch Marner coming in second. Apparently his playoffs record has been pathetic. 9.2% at third. Sorry, I missed Brock Besser. 11.2 coming in second. But massive landslide. Some people actually voted for Brock Nelson, and this is hundreds of votes. 1.1% actually picked Brock Nelson. Interesting. Yes, the Minnesota Frost are back-to-back Walter Cup champions, PWHL champions, and this time they're the Minnesota Frost, not the Minnesota team that plays women's hockey. It's the Minnesota Frost, so nice to see that take place. Great, back-to-back champions. It was a kind of a grueling, low-scoring, grinded-out type of game, but the Frost were able to win it all, and that was awesome. Went to overtime. Ottawa scores, and it goes to a deciding game after that, but and I believe it would have been in Ottawa too, because they were arguably by a record, the favorites. But the Minnesota Frost ended up winning it all, so pretty cool. I would say congratulations, Minnesota, back to back, awesome. And I got no likes because people were probably busy doing other, busy celebrating on their own and liking other people's posts instead of mine, because they just were. But it's okay. Derek putting out a Minnesota Frost poll. What do you think was the Minnesota Frost biggest key to success that allowed them to be PWHL back-to-back champions? Rooney's goaltending, Stecklin's resurgence, Curl's tenacity, and fourth line stepping up. Rooney's goaltending, I picked that. Yep, first place, 72.1. Second place, fourth line stepping up at 15.1. Third place, Curl's tenacity, 9.3. And Stecklin's resurgence, 3.5. Yep. So there you go. And the Minnesota Wild, of course, re-signing forward Marcus Johansson to a 1-year contract. I typed WTF Bill Guerin. Responses. Big dog. Dang it, 658. Sorry. Perpetual poverty franchise. Not surprised by the move. I was saying not surprised, but still very annoyed. I don't know what's going on with me here. I'm like spazzing out. Sorry. Mosey says, is this really that bad of a move? Though, with the THO. Yeah, okay. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, kind of. It kind of is. Is it that bad of a move, though? Derek says, this is the summer splash Minnesota Wild fans have been waiting for all these 3 years. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't read that correctly, Derek. I apologize. This is the summer splash Minnesota Wild fans have been waiting for all these years? That's a good question, isn't it? Yeah. And I said, and Morty responds with not nice. And I didn't even like it. I'm sorry, Derek. I apologize. And Morty says not nice. Well, the signing wasn't nice either. What the heck? I'm spazzing out here, but apologize there. I got a sip of some Americano here. Next. Yeah, what did I say that was dumb this time? No, I'm just kidding. Probably just the way I worded it wasn't so great. Yeah, Derek was saying, wow, we may actually agree on something. If Johansson is re-signed, I would hope some Billy Goats would wake up and realize they have followed a false prophet. Yeah, following a false prophet. I was saying it makes absolutely no sense. I'm completely baffled by the direction of this franchise. Derek was responding with, I'm not baffled. He's a GM who would rather bet on those he feels he knows than those he feels he doesn't know. But he keeps circling back to the same players and thinking that somehow we will be different this time. The big surprise this summer is there is no surprise. Yep. And I was saying it's that East Coast BS where they only trust who they know. And then Derek says, Karen puts his bets on vets. And yes, that bias of people, you always take your comfort zone. Let's just fill in. This is a little parable, right? Of something that's a true story, but it's a parable of it, where it's using different things. There was this, just imagine this, well, it was a choice on what's for dinner, let's just say. Imagine it as a hiring manager as well. Okay, there, now he gave a hint. But put it into a parable. You have a choice on what's for dinner. Let's say something that's delicious, but it's very simple, and it doesn't really, it doesn't cost much. It's very simple. Stouffer's macaroni and cheese. I personally think it's delicious. Absolutely delicious. Stouffer's macaroni and cheese, it's delicious. Takes a little while to cook in the oven, maybe 50 minutes or something, but it's delicious. But then there's the other choice that you absolutely can have. You just have to, slow roast it a little while. It's called prime rib. It's absolutely delicious. Now, which higher quality? Prime rib or Stouffer's macaroni and cheese out of a box? Let's see. Maybe you wait a couple extra hours. Not that much longer, honestly, at the end of the day, considering the Stouffer's takes about 50 minutes. Prime rib, maybe 2-3 hours. Something, maybe 4. But you get prime bleeping rib. Otherwise, we're going to go with the comfort zone, this mediocre thing. Let's just say mediocre employee that doesn't do a whole lot, but you're comfortable with them. And everything's fine. Wait a little longer to get things going, and you get prime rib. But they always take the Stouffer's and pass on the prime rib. And that's pretty much what that's kind of what that mentality is. To me, Marcus Johansson, I don't think he even qualifies for a Stouffer's macaroni and cheese. I'm not sure he even qualifies for that at this point. Does he? Yeah, probably more like I don't even know, like a cheaper version, like budget macaroni and cheese versus, I don't know, just something better. Let's say like a T-bone steak, a real good one. A little bit more effort required for that one, but once you're done, it's worth it. It's way better. Okay, that parable was a little too long, but hopefully you get my drift there and what I might have been hinting at as well on the side. A lot of people like macaroni and cheese in certain places, and I'll never understand it. Wink, wink. It's ridiculous. It's sad. It's very sad. Next, the Derek Felska lightning round. Is there one? Yeah, there is a lightning round. Kaboom, kaboom. And no, I'm not talking about kabooming in other parts of the world. Too soon? Yeah, it's too soon. It is. Anyhow, With the injuries to Kirill and Eriksson Ek, if Gustafsson wasn't as great as he was, this team probably falls out of the playoff race, in my opinion. Pun intended, he saved their season. That'd be Philip Gustafsson. Yes, so this is in reply to one of the polls, yes. That brings up Garen Betts and Vets. Wallstead was the biggest, yeah, kind of jumping ahead here. Okay, so the poll, the final results, and then I can read the actual responses as well. Final results. Okay, come on. Everything's out of order. This is my fault. What happened to I must not have hashtagged, what the hell? It's like out of order. Okay, I didn't hashtag those. That's stupid. That's okay, I can fix it. It'll only take a second. God, I apologize. Okay, yeah, so I had to go a different route to get to my own polls. Isn't that great? Because I didn't put BTWMN. How dumb. Anyhow, who is your 24-25 MVP for the Minnesota Wild? Feel free to comment as well. Blah, 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 blah. Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Boldy, Brock Faber, and Philip Gustafsson. Decent amount of votes, but nobody retweeted it, so it'd be nice if people could retweet some with some of these polls. Yeah, por favor, is that okay? It was a decent amount of votes. I'm not complaining. Actually, it's a decent number. So the inclusion here on Brave the Wild is far superior to Timberwolves Explosion and Purple Mafia when it comes to polls. So just saying. Anyhow, it is. So that's because the hockey community is simply better than the other ones. It's just a fact. Well, Kirill Kaprizov wins at the end of the day, 40%. Philip Gustafsson comes in second at 28%. Matt Boldy, third place, 24%, pretty strong. And Brock Faber rings in the stellar, or is riding the caboose at 8%. A couple of replies are Derek and Rick. He says, with the injuries to Kirill and Eriksson Ek, if Gustafsson wasn't as great as he was, this team probably falls out of the playoff race, in my opinion. Pun intended, he saved their season. I think that's a good one. That's a good pun, and it makes sense. Morty said, yet most people wanted to run him out of town early in the season. Up next, Jasper Hysteria. Interesting take there. Yep, interesting take, Morty. I feel you. Rick says, I should have gone Bus. I should have gone Gus Bus, LOL. Well, Gustafsson did come in second. Kirill still ended up the MVP. Okay, biggest disappointment, Jesper Wallstedt. Yeah, I think it's a big one. Jesper Wallstedt, Gustav Nyquist, Yakov Trenin, and Declan Chisholm. Yes, I did spell it correctly. Good. This one actually got more votes, and I understand why the MVP one wouldn't get as many sometimes. It's the Wolves that probably, he only needed like one, because Anthony Edwards was unanimous, by the way. State of the Timberwolves. This one got a little more stuff going on. It did get retweeted by somebody. Thank you. I do believe that was Derek. I think it was, and I really appreciate that. Very much so. Let's just see if it shows. Oh, Jay Bushy. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. Derek, what happened? It's okay. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's my own fault for. I should have hashtagged Crease Assist. That's probably my fault. I'm sorry, Derek. I apologize. That's stupid. My bad. So you heard the candidates. Gustav Nyquist wins in a very tight battle, 38.5%. Jesper Wallstedt, who I did choose in the first segment, 37.2%, because, geez, he's supposed to be like a, at least a decent backup now, and then working his way to being one of the saviors of the franchise. And instead, he was a terrible AHL goalie. Terrible AHL goalie. As you did know, Mr. Brett McLean is no longer the coach of the Iowa Wild. He did not get fired. He left and is an assistant now with the Vancouver Canucks. And as at Cronin, he was a former Anaheim Ducks coach, is going to possibly be the AHL coach. The Wild are targeting him. So Jesper coming in second. Yakov Trenin, a strong third at 20.5, and Declan Chisholm, 3.8. I thought all of them were disappointing, but yeah. Anyhow, the responses, and it's not showing them. There's actually a number of responses. Oh, for heaven's sake, I can't even click on it. What's wrong with me? Somebody help. Please, somebody help. I can't click on it. Oh, Lord. Somebody tell me what's going on. There were 7 replies. Okay, they're there. All I had to do was scroll down. I'm sorry. Anyhow, Kyle Marlowe says Kirill only playing 40 games. That's disappointing. Yep, I feel you there. Derek jumps in, says Wallstead was the biggest disappointment. I agree. This was supposed to be the year where he showed he was ready to be in the backup. Exactly. Backup role with the Minnesota Wild. Instead, he was terrible. Yep, sounds just like me there. Yep, instead, he was terrible for Iowa. Seemed fragile mentally. Yeah, and struggled to stay healthy, too. About as bad as it could be. And isn't that weird, too? Because wasn't he, like, supposed to be... he sounded like a very mentally strong person when he first got to the U.S. and even before. And it's like... It's kind of weird. Like, what happened? It was very strange and disappointing, to say the least. Yeah, it's really sad. His English is like super good too. Next, continuing, Derek continues here. Wallsted's struggles were so bad that this team probably needs to consider signing a capable NHL backup in free agency. Not exactly what was expected from the Minnesota Wild's future number one goaltender. His performance, yeah, that's not exactly what was expected. No, his performance not only let Minnesota down, but let Iowa down too. It's like, There was a reply from Morty. He had a great... God, why does that ever pop up? He had a great camp and was told to get an apartment because he was going to be in a three-man rotation. Isn't that weird? Yeah. It 100% played with his head. I know. He needs to be tougher. Goalies can be freaks, and he's just 22. I expect he will have another great camp and be ready for the number 2 spot. I hope so. Derek says he's gotten a little worse each of the last 3 seasons. Yeah, he has. So there's even more going on here. Morty's optimistic. He says he will. Derek says, I'm not buying it just yet. We'll see what happens, but I don't know. He was saying Johan Gustafsson looked like a good prospect, but it all fell apart around him. Yeah, I remember Johan Gustafsson. I even go back to Derek. Yeah, we both do. Derek Gustafsson, too. That's way back. The one from Portland, Oregon. Wallstedt has to prove it to himself. Man, this one just, holy shnikes. So they go on for a while, and that's a cool conversation. Come on, what happened? Let me go back to the post, the direct replies. Burns W1 Nip. For those of you who chose Wallstedt, remember the AHL is ranked 5th. Is it really that bad? 5th? Huh. Yeah, that is pretty bad. Wow. 5th professionally, yeah. Or is that actually higher? What am I talking about? Yeah, because you think KHL's number 2, right? AHL's 5th? Anyhow, Wallstedt was breaking records in the SHL, ranked 3rd. That is really interesting. When he was 15, that's a huge difference. You only get better by playing better players. He's going to be a rock star. Okay, I hope so. I really hope so. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm hoping. That's an interesting point to bring up. David Juracek Burner probably going to curse people out if he doesn't become a good player. No, okay, I'm just kidding. Let me tell you a side note. It takes about like a second here. I'm telling you, one time, after a Timberwolves game, I was super frustrated on the Timberwolves explosion. Now it's called T-Wolves DX because the other one was in trouble for a bit. It was messed up or whatever. I was ripping JJ Barea like a new one because, I don't know, he was an annoying player to watch. He was obnoxious, and he was so frustrating to watch. Just, selfish, obnoxious. I got attacked brutally by what I do believe was JJ Barea on a burner account. He was cursing me out, telling me a bleeping hater and all that. It was him. I'm telling you. So I've been hit by the real person before. It's pretty wild. So anyhow, sorry. David Juracek Burner. He says Nyquist for sure. Trennan was good during the playoffs, which is what we signed him for. Never expected much from Wallstedt or Chisholm this year. Okay, interesting thought there. Interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I understand though the Nyquist frustration. Like the year before, what did he get? 75 freaking points. Trennan was supposed to be good, and he's kind of poopy. I don't know what the heck to say. I don't know. Hugmadog. During camp, Russo wrote a lot about Trennan. Hines gushed about him. I was sold by mid-season. We learned that the Wild had signed a slow, expensive fourth-line guy for 4 bleep. Yeah, I added the bleeping years part. I expected different. I feel you. Rick says, where's Guerin on the list? Well, he's coming, but we were just sticking with active players, I guess, for now. But that's the whole point, though, about when I said feel free to comment. Yeah, you can add, you can like write in people like that, and they deserve to be mentioned. Absolutely. Usually, I just stick to players, though, instead of either this guy got hurt or whatever, or the coach sucked or something. So usually I try to do that. Where's the biggest surprise? Okay, I got to go back twice. It's like first time using a computer today, huh? No, not quite that bad. Jiminy Christmas, man. Yep, Brett McLean moves on to Vancouver. I was, sharing that one. Okay, finally. Who is your biggest surprise for 24-25? Feel free to comment and so on and so forth. This one got even less votes, but it's still more than enough to make the vote interesting. It's not like 5 people voted, so it's a good number more. Philip Gustafson, Marco Rossi, 60 points. And I just kind of added that because Rossi was a pretty good surprise. Just want to make, it's like a kind of a reminder with, to look past that fourth line thing. Even though he did get 2 goals in the fourth line role in a 6-game series, it's not bad. Pierce Spurgeon actually being healthy and all that, and then other. Because there really weren't many surprises. And, yep, the guy I did vote for did win. Philip Gustafson, 42.2. Marco Rossi, 35.6. Jared Spurgeon being healthy, 15.6. And then other, 6.7. Responses. Morty says, Hartman's turnaround after suspension. Yeah, that's pretty surprising, that's for sure. He was pretty good. Hartman was actually somebody I'm, not begging to, shove out the door, basically. Derek says, I have to go with Philip Gustafson for this one. Maybe not a huge surprise. His relative consistency seemed to coincide with a better fitness level going into the season. Yep, that's true. It now seems like there is a strong possibility the team will extend his contract. Yep. And then, yep. And, yeah, I mean, you hope it's not like break the bank, 7 to 10 years. But then again, maybe he's our Bob. I don't know. I don't necessarily see the Wild doing a Florida Panthers or anything, but I don't think a lot of people a couple of years ago saw the Florida Panthers doing a Florida Panthers. Did you? Remember, it seemed like yesterday the Florida Panthers were this team that had some talented players that couldn't, that first of all had mediocre goaltending and all that, and but also was just, frustrating like you couldn't believe. They just were out every year. They were just disappointing. They're out. Then they started making a few trades. They draft Spencer Knight and then signed Bobrovsky to a massive contract that made everybody like, what the hell? It was like I said earlier in the show, like a reverse. It'd be like you draft Penix first and then you sign Kirk Cousins, and it's like, okay. So then you end up trading Penix away to a team that needs somebody eventually, but after a few years, not like a few months or anything. So, but Penix, of course, is the quarterback for the Falcons now. That was the draft. Yeah, like a lot of you that if you follow football, most of you do. Most of you know who Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins are. At least I would hope so. If you don't, that's okay. You're not required to know who they are. But it's funny how it was like a reverse Michael Penix, Kirk Cousins. Like you made the big signing afterward, the guy you already have on the roster. It's just so weird. Huge, and then it works out. Oh, geez, that's even better, right? And then Spencer Knight, I might have made a smart aleck comment like, oh, Chicago, yuck. Yeah, Chicago sucks now, but if that could end up being a sneaky, awesome move for the Blackhawks. If Spencer Knight is, like as good as he looked like he was going to be at times with Florida, at, 2.5 goals or less a game. And then you have, Connor Bedard and other big prospects coming in, and maybe somebody goes as a free agent there sometimes. Because maybe Chicago's more interesting than the Wild, believe it or not. And who knows? Maybe in a few years, Chicago could be a really tough beat. Like the Blackhawks, that was one of their weaknesses. They were kind of mediocre in that for most of the time. I suppose late. I'm almost forgetting the guy's name now because it's been like a long time. What was that guy's name? He was mediocre, but was like legendary against us. I'm forgetting his name. It's kind of funny at the end of the day, but they definitely had their glory years in Chicago and might have him again sooner than we want them to have him. Crawford, yep, because I knew it was a name that was like echoing from the fans. Crawford, yeah, because he'd have some shitty games, but he had some great seasons. 7 shutouts, years ago. 2.37 goals against average. Corey Crawford, yep, the bearded man. He's 40 years old now. Dang, these guys are. Man, he's been up and he retired in 1920. The Blackhawks were kind of toast. He was still very good though. But it's like, oh, Crawford's going to fall apart. He never really did he? Crawford never did. So maybe, we'll see if Spencer Knight's another Crawford. Crawford was with the organization his entire career, so that's a little trivia for you. Of course, he was not the main goaltender in 2010. That was, again, they were kind of... So my bad. I don't know why the heck I talked about them having a mediocre goalie. It was at the beginning. Yeah, it was... Antti Niemi. He had a great season. It was a great season, but you don't usually think of Antti Niemi as a great goalie, do you? Not usually. I mean, most of the time... His goals against average was, it was kind of, he had some good years and some not so good years. He was all over the place. It's kind of a weird one, but I guess it was later in his career that he kind of dropped off, but whatever. The Blackhawks won 3 cups and we didn't, and they had some pretty good guys. Yeah, Brian Beckel, God, that guy was annoying. I'm just seeing these old names now. Oh, it makes your blood boil. It's not like hatred, painful. It was a painful memory. I don't want to remember, dang it, go away. No, that's horrifying. Okay, I'm going on too far. Too many rabbit holes. It's my own fault. Oh, come on, Joey. Focus, you dummy. I got to refocus all this because I had it all funky before. Okay, we got caught up. Marco, yep. Derek says, is Marco Rossi asking for a fair price at the $7 million for 7 years? The 4 choices, yes, a fair value long term, a bit too high and too long. Lower bridge deal and not a fit trade him. First place is a bit too high and too long. That's what I put. Yes, fair deal in full term. 34. The too high, whatever, is 45.5. The next one, fair and all that good stuff. 34.3 is second. Third place, lowered the bridge deal. 12 lower and a bridge deal, 12%, and then not a fit trade him at about 8.5. I was saying. Very impressive comeback and stick-to-itiveness by the Edmonton Oilers. Yeah, they were down 3-0. So, but then after that, that was it. That was death. After that, little did we know it would literally be a death knell. Derek, yeah, oh boy, this will probably drive you crazy. But the Oilers eased up in the second period after Picard's big save, and Edmonton was able to rally, similar to the Gophers versus Quinnipiac. Ouch. Oh, that hurts. That hurt my feelings. Yeah, because they, stopped playing like not to lose and started playing to win. And the Gophers played to not lose. And people calling me dumb for saying that I don't think that Bob Moskow is going to bring a national championship to Minnesota, that I need to stop being dumb. That I need to not be dumb. Like, don't be dumb. See the game? I don't know. Did you see the last 5, I don't know how many chances have the Gophers had to be a national contender in the NCAA tournament, and I don't know. That'd be my response. That's coaching. I'm sorry, it is. That's coaching. So yes, you did. Yes, it did make me crazy, but I'm definitely not mad at you, Derek, and I'm sure yours. I'm mad at Bob Moskow with how he handled that Quinnipiac game, and quite frankly, the fact that the Gophers couldn't even get past. I don't even remember who they were playing. It's just a mediocre team going into the tournament. I mean, I do remember. It was just the thought of it made me so mad at the time, and the fact that the Gophers were hanging on to dear life at the end, and then we lost, and then it's the refs' fault. Yeah, the refs did suck in that game, but you should have been ahead of that team instead of letting them come back and beat you the way they did. It's just complete and utter bullshit. There, I just said it all straight out. Anyhow, next, congratulations, Florida Panthers, and to the state of Florida, the true state of hockey, at least at the NHL level, right? It certainly is in Minnesota. 5 cups there, 0 here. Can't argue with that. Hashtag PGWMN. Did get a response. Luckily, it was a positive one, despite not agreeing necessarily. Chris says, Minnesota will always be the state of hockey regardless of cups won. Florida certainly has become a hockey title town state, though. Yeah, that could be like Detroit, I guess. Even though Michigan's a pretty good hockey state. I would say I'd like to have some cups. I'm tired of Loserville. Chris says, I know. I'd love to have just one in my lifetime. I think, yes, please. Derek says, if it was only based on Stanley Cups, I would agree. Sunbelt dominance continues. Perhaps not the best for TV ratings, but for the Minnesota Wild, can only dream of even getting past the first I added bleeping round. While the whilst the former southeast dominates. Yep. Whilst the former southeast dominates. Yep. Southeast. Yep. Yeah, they're dominating all right. 5 cups. 5. Yep. And 4 out of the last 5 years, right? 4 out of the last 5 years. Oh, and then Vegas too. So you got the Southwest. I'm just kidding. South best climate in the United States is the Southwest. Yeah, it's the South best. A couple draft ones here. At least a couple of little draft conversation with Derek here. This one, and great show again, like I said, with one selection so far in the first 3 rounds for the 25 NHL entry draft. What type of players should the Wild target? Scoring winger / center, big physical defenseman, goaltender, or best player available. And yes, BPA came up 70.4. Second place, a big physical defenseman, 14.8. Scoring winger, 11.1, and goaltender, 3.7. Yep. And final post was a couple more. Yeah, no, one more. Yep. Michael Russo. This is just me sharing it. Hearing the Minnesota Wild are closing in on former Anaheim Ducks coach Greg Cronin as their new coach of the Iowa Wild. That could be a really good thing. We'll see. Cronin has coached collegiately and in the AHL / NHL for more than 35 years. Points percentage of, that's pretty good, 62.5 plus. Yeah, .625 plus in 3 of 5 years. Recently with the Colorado Eagles, playoffs all 4 and 1 were canceled. Wow. It's pretty good actually for COVID. Yep, canceled for COVID. Playoffs in all 4 of those, and then 1 was canceled for COVID. Yeah. So cool. The Gophers, the Iowa Wild needed that, I think, and hopefully that does happen. That'd be a good hire. Be a wonderful hire. Sounds like a guy who is a legitimate pro at being a head coach. Who, apparently Tim Army was just meeting, and Brett McLean maybe just kind of in over his head. Like the first season was just absolute garbage. And the second season was pretty crappy. Not absolute garbage, but it was close enough. It totally sucked. The win-loss record was scary. And nothing against Brett McLean. Maybe he's just an assistant coach, at least for now. Greg Cronin sounds like a head coach. Sorry. And looking forward to that. Greg Cronin, who knows? Maybe he's nudge. If I don't know. I don't think John Hines is in that big of trouble right now. The playoffs were terrible. In terms of, we felt a lot of us would agree he got outcoached by Bruce over there of the Las Vegas Golden Knights, and it was depressing to say the least. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe he is an emergency replacement if it ever comes to that. And yes, I keep saying Bruce. It's Bruce Cassidy. But yes, just to be formal on that one. Otherwise, I think I've gone on way too long. I apologize if this show is too much babbling on and on and on and on. I do apologize. I hope you don't mind. And I just want to thank all of you so much that do listen to the show. So much for being loyal. So much for interacting with us. I appreciate you so much. God bless all of you so much. And of course, big shout out to at MNW Prospects / MNW Young Guns. Great job, guys. Great job. Obviously, Crease Assist. At Crease and Assist, Derek Velska. The Crease Assist podcast doing an amazing job. And just want to say, thank you so much for being loyal to this show as well. God bless you. And I think that's about it, really. Otherwise, just hoping for a brighter future for this franchise. Some wise decisions in the summer, and we'll be back to talk about the draft and free agency in the not-too-distant future. Until then, take care and have a good summer, eh?
Lowe's knows to bring your vision to life, it's important to find the right color. That's why MyLowe's Rewards members get a free paint or exterior stain sample to test your look and find the perfect color to confidently refresh your space. Lowe's, we help, you save. Offer valid in-store only 6/19 through 6/25. Limit 1 per customer while supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See associate for details. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.